Good evening, Washington, D.C. We are the Junkies. We're coming to you live from downtown D.C. We're broadcasting live from the Anthem site of the Washington Wizards 2026 NBA Draft Party. Yes, the Wizards are in the epicenter of the NBA universe right now. All eyes on them as we're 1 hour away from the beginning of the 2026 NBA Draft, where they won the NBA Draft Lottery. People rejoiced. We have the number one selection.
It's unbelievable.
Making it for the third time in the modern era.
Yep.
We're just an hour away from learning who the new franchise cornerstone is of your Washington Wizards. And this crowd is going to go crazy down here
And I've
at
been
the Anthem when that pick is delivered.
I've been to the Anthem 3 times for Christmas parties. And there were about the same amount of people here tonight for this draft party as there were for when OAR was performing.
This is a sold-out ticket, so
I mean, it's crazy.
You have your ticket. You're either here or you're making your way down here to the Anthem at the Wharf. We're also joined by our friend Grant Paulson,
GP,
here from
my man
GP. The band from Grant and Dan.
Grant's been working overtime, working all day. What an absolute poop show in here.
Fellas,
it's just unbelievable
packed
here.
to the gills. I will say this, though.
Yeah.
I have experienced nights like tonight doing radio on the Fan for years.
Yeah.
It's never been for the Wizards. Nights like this,
probably true.
Capitals, Nationals, Commanders, what have you.
Right.
This is the most jacked up. We got here for our show about 1:30 today.
Yeah.
And there were people roaming around out front that just were waiting to get in. People are absolutely buzzing. They've been waiting for this for a long time.
They really
It's
have.
so strange because we've had the number one pick a few times in our tenure, you know? I mean, obviously the Kwame deal was a dud. But, when we picked John, that was great. Even picking Sarr was kind of exciting, even though it was 2. I don't remember being this excited. This is the most excited.
Well, you're excited because this draft class that's going to be selected tonight, the first round tonight, second round tomorrow, has been widely hyped as one of the best draft classes ever. So for the Wizards to get lucky after all the losses, after all the tanking, the design losses, that's hard on the fan base over the last 3 seasons. They've won, I don't know if this is the exact order, but 15, 17, and 18 games over the last 3 seasons. So that's tough on the fan base. So tonight signals the real beginning of the turnaround. With all the draft picks that have accumulated already, you add the number one pick, whoever that's going to be tonight, whether it's Sabasa or Peterson. There's been a lot of debate, obviously, about that. I'm sure we'll debate it leading right up to 8 p.m. tonight. So this is a cathartic night for Wizards fans. Like they can sense the turnaround is happening.
Yeah, maybe some of that is because Trae Young was just inked to a ridiculous deal that some people can't believe the numbers.
Right.
But I just think the world of sports in general, maybe it's social media, maybe it's just the media in general, is different. John Wall was just as good a college basketball player as everyone in this draft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, John Wall's
if not better. Okay, if not better. There wasn't a draft party like this.
I don't remember
I'm not going to recall.
I'm sure they had something.
If there was, it was in a much smaller room.
Yeah, I'm sure they had something, but it wasn't like this.
Yeah, so it's just kind of the world that we live in and how times are changing. But you're right, Cakes. They're pumped, and they should be pumped because if they take AJ or if they take CP, they're going to get an effing good player, great player.
I listened to a guy on Grant Danny was driving in making a case for Cam, and I was all in on Cam.
There you go.
You can pick anybody. We're going to be excited.
Go for Cam too. I mean, I think you're going to get a great player if you take any of those 3.
A year ago, I talked to one of the high-ranking Wizards officials.
Yeah.
They said at that time, they already said this is one of the greatest drafts they'd ever scouted.
Right.
They've been in basketball forever and ever. I think that's part of why people are really excited. But Cakes, you hit on the other thing. Look, Kwame Brown that's a different era. It's a different time. John Wall, 16 years ago, 2010, this ownership group.
Can you believe that was 16 years ago?
We're getting old, man.
That's more relevant. And here's the difference. This is the culmination of a 4-year plan that is now about to take off. You got the rocket ship. You've got the pieces assembled. There's also, you mentioned Trae Young, the extension.
Yeah.
We've really seen him play 5 games.
Right.
Anthony Davis, we haven't seen play 1 minute with the Wizards yet. So all the people that are out here rocking their jerseys tonight, they're excited to see Trae Young, Anthony Davis, what that looks like next year when you draft, let's say, the Bonsa at 1-1. He's your starting small forward. Deshaun George moves to the 2. Now all of a sudden you got Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly coming off the bench. Like the vision is happening, and people are excited about it.
They're excited about it, and it also brings something else into play that hasn't been around this Wizards team for the last 3+ years. Expectations. People expect this team to make a quantum leap from that 17, 18 wins level to like high 30s, if not low to mid 40s wins plateau.
I might want to middle it one more year and get another draft pick, right? I mean, the way they set it up, you could theoretically make that argument.
I want to see as many wins as possible.
I'm with you.
Now, who knows if AD is going to be here? We just don't have a good vibe on that. I hope we do see him.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think there's any chance he gets traded tonight?
I don't think it's. I don't think there's a zero chance.
I think there's always a chance for some trade.
Like if you're talking to Winger, are you calling teams at 10 and later going?
Of course, you should be.
Yeah.
Why not?
And I think that's one of the great things about this organization, kind of like the same lines of the Commanders. Very buttoned up. You're not hearing leaks. You're not hearing the Wizards are really interested in filling the name of a top 3 or 4 player here. Like you're not hearing that. And the Trae Young deal was a surprise. The Anthony Davis deal, bringing him in, we were all kind of sideswiped by those.
Right.
Don't be surprised if Will Dawkins and Winger have a few tricks up their sleeve tonight.
I just can't wait for Adam Silver to be up there on that stage, not here, obviously, but in New York, and say, with the number 1 pick in the 2026, I just don't know what to expect.
Neither do I.
I don't know what name I'm going to hear.
I want him to pause, too. I want him to pause. Like Ryan Seacrest
he should pause for 5 seconds.
I need a Ryan Seacrest to go to commercial, something.
Right.
You need that pregnant.
I want that drama.
That elephant pregnant, like 2 years or something.
Because I will say I am flabbergasted that Dabonsa and Peterson don't know. Like either one, they don't know by now. We're an hour away from this. They don't know.
But I think that's part of. I think that's part of the.
I think that's
charm.
the beauty of any draft.
Yeah, you're going to see them.
It's so rare. We got to stop with the BS. This is very rare. This never happens. That an hour before the first pick doesn't know.
But I like
you
it.
might not know.
I like the suspense.
I don't know. I don't know if I like it or not. I'm stunned by it.
Do you want to know the end of a movie before it starts? I don't. I want to see the movie play out.
I'm just stunned.
Yeah, but think about it.
I'm stunned.
Okay, you're stunned, but you don't really want to know now when you're here.
I do.
You're at the draft party.
I keep checking.
But Bish, I don't know what the odds are right now. I saw today it was like minus 650 for Dabonsa.
Yeah. It's even getting more. It's even more.
It's not like it's dead even. I think there is a massive expectation that it's AJ. But Cakes just
that's just by the media.
Exactly. And there is nothing that books lose more money on than drafts.
Yeah.
Because they really don't.
I was wondering what the history of that is because it's pure media hype.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I don't believe they've told anybody of note.
I don't think
I would be shocked if they did. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think these books have, and they're just going on all the mocks they see.
So you think there's a legitimate chance?
100%.
This room, can you imagine the explosion if they say? I mean, Dabonsa is the expectation.
Yeah.
But if they say Peterson or let's just say Boozer, I mean, it will be an all-time reaction.
It could. Yeah. By the way, it could be any kind of reaction.
Look who is in the house. Michael Winger, the president of basketball operations.
Good luck, buddy.
Good luck tonight. Best of luck.
I'm so excited. Here. You want to come on?
Yeah, come on in.
All right,
yeah,
come on real quick.
Come on, Michael Winger. Michael Winger joins us. What a moment.
President of basketball.
By the way, he's not sweating. He wasn't.
Oh, no,
you're calm, cool, collected.
Now you sweat when you have 2.
Yeah, you don't have to sweat. You're in the catbird seat. How great does it feel for you and Will and the organization to know that you're going to get the player you want? You don't have to wait for another team to make the pick. You're going to get the player you want tonight at 1-1. How does that feel for you and everybody that we know has worked countless numbers of hours getting up to this point?
I said this to JP last week. It's peaceful.
Yeah,
it's
really?
A really peaceful experience.
Do you sleep well last
You're
night?
in a Zen state?
Yeah.
We all slept very well
good.
last night. Not a tremendous amount of stress right now. We're going to get the guy we want. We know he wants to be in DC in the worst way. You can only work so hard to get lucky.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in a position to get lucky.
Lucky.
And we feel very strongly that we've done that.
I got a question. Did anything surprise you? Obviously, I'm not asking for clues or anything, but did anything surprise you along the process as you came to this decision? Just kind of come into a collective decision. Were there surprises along the way?
I think the biggest surprise for us, particularly with this draft, is in getting to know these guys. They're all amazing kids.
Yeah.
And it's supremely talented.
Right.
As I've said before, the talent at the top of this draft is incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to add, you brought up the words that you used. This guy wants to be in DC in the worst way. Like, that's something a lot of players haven't said in years past for the organization, for the Wizards.
That's because of you guys.
Talk about how you've sold the vision of this franchise to guys like Devonta, Peterson, guys at the top of the draft, as well as free agents and guys that you want to trade for to bring into the mix here.
I think it's much less selling and more uncovering what was already here. I mean, the city's a great city. The fan base is bursting with basketball excitement.
Yeah.
They want to be treated to good basketball, and they've wanted to be treated to good basketball for a long time. It's a hotbed of talent. It's a hotbed of basketball fandom. We brought in some great young talent, we believe. We've polished up the organization. It's a wonderful organization. We have terrific ownership. And I think we just needed to sort of like showcase who the Washington Wizards are, showcase what Washington, D.C. is all about. And you just don't have to work that hard to showcase this city and this fan base.
Right. We're desperate. We're desperate, and it's a huge base. After the first pick, and we all celebrate that, should we settle in and fasten our seatbelts that maybe there might be some more action?
I would not anticipate a tremendous amount of fireworks tonight.
Okay.
I think that our show is going to be number one.
Okay.
Right.
We're going to celebrate that. We're going to celebrate that young man. And then we'll watch the rest of the draft as it unfolds. But I think our show's at one. Our show's at number one.
And
All right, real quick. I know you got to go.
Yeah.
But the Trae Young signing, while we're not surprised that you re-signed him, the number was staggering.
Okay.
Can you kind of tell us how that happened and why that happened for that number?
I can tell you that Trae Young is an incredibly valuable player for the Washington Wizards. He was, in fact, sought after by the rest of the league. He continues to be sought after by, I don't want to say the rest of the league, other teams in the league. But he wants to be here. That matters to us. He's been tremendous for our young athletes. That matters to us. He's going to make the game easier for us. That matters to us. And I think that it's been a long time since we've had that level of excitement in a singular athlete on the basketball court. To me, that's worth his weight in gold.
Yep. Love it. So thrilled. So thrilled. Thank you.
It's a busy night. Thank you so much.
Thank
for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Of course.
It's Michael Winger, president
Come on after.
of basketball operations for Monumental Sports. Very nice of him to take a chunk of his evening. I mean, they're making the pick in 48 minutes, and he's sitting here hanging out with us here at the Anthem. Very cool of him to take some time and talk about the state of the Wizards, the number one pick, Trae Young, and more. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, he did say there were other teams that were interested.
Well, of course. That was what. Yeah, I believe that. They're not stupid.
I mean, he's going to say that either way, but
I
believe it.
Of course. They're not going to give you an extra $80 million unless you show them that there's some other teams that are interested.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, come on.
These guys have been around the business.
They've been around. They know.
They talk to people.
It's not their first rodeo.
Right.
But thank you. So excited.
Thank you.
So I actually am so excited.
I've never, ever gotten up and sat back down and felt less significant.
I'm sorry.
I mean, hey.
No, it's so nice of you to give him the headset.
Dude,
That's
are you
so
kidding
nice
me?
of you.
How cool is that he came through?
So cool.
He was trying to do a walk by, and I'm like, you are sitting here and wearing this.
Right. Jeeps, guest wrangler. Let's give that guy a raise.
You got a future. You got a future in this business, buddy.
These guys get it. Yeah. And I'll say this. I was just talking. Christina was walking them around, and I said, the last few years have been such a breath of fresh air. The way that they operate, the transparency with which they operate, but their understanding of the landscape of the sport. It's not. I don't mean this as a knock on Tommy Shepard. Maybe a little bit of a knock on Ernie, but these guys are just a cut above. You see it with Taboni and the Nationals right now. They get it, and not every move they make is like, I don't love 212 for Trae Young per se, but there's a method to their madness. They're going, we need a ball handler. We need someone to create on offense. We need a spark plug for the next era.
Right.
They got a plan, and they've stuck to it, and they get a lot of credit for that.
They know how a modern sports franchise should be run from the front office and ownership side.
Yeah.
So they're doing it the right way. We commend them for the job they're doing. And tonight's draft pick at 1-1 overall is just the latest addition to
I can't believe how many people are here.
I mean, sold out.
For a freaking draft party.
They think there might be more than 5,000 coming tonight.
I think
I think that's about the capacity.
Well, there's definitely 5,000 people trying to park in the parking garages. It's the Hunger Games down there. I mean, it's every man woman and child.
I got
himself.
so lucky.
You got hooked.
I just kept circling and circling and circling. Finally, a guy was coming down who worked somewhere up here in one of these offices.
Yeah.
He looked at me and goes, I'm out.
Oh,
I
so
said,
right. I mean,
all right, good.
how about I went into garage 1, circled for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I said,
No, I bailed.
There are no spots here.
I
Left, went to a different garage. Here we are.
So you got out. You got out. Went
Oh,
to a
I
different
went
garage?
back to work and took an Uber.
Oh, you
I
did?
bailed entirely.
By the way, this
Oh,
is
wow.
such an auto Uber situation.
Yep.
I will never drive down here.
Yeah.
It's always Uber.
I blame Cakes. I said, Cakes, I've never been here. Tell me. He said, oh, there's plenty of garage. It's going to be fine. Not a problem. Come out here. Instant circus. Instant circus.
I didn't expect what I saw in that garage.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
I don't think I'll ever come back.
Well, how about I found this
Well,
spot.
unless
So-
you Uber.
Hey, you're going to be steamed up when they're picking 1-1 next year, and you're sitting right here again.
All right, so if you have your ticket already, you can come down to the Anthem for the Wizards draft party. If not, you're out of luck. It is a sold-out event. We will be broadcasting live until 9 p.m. Then we hand it off to Toby and Ben, but we will be live for the Wizards. Number 1 overall pick is coming up at 8 o'clock. It's the Junkies and Grant Paulson coming to you live from the Anthem for the Wizards NBA Draft 2026 party. We'll be right back. Junkies coming to you back live. We are at the Anthem at the Wharf in downtown D.C. We are front and center here at the Wizards NBA Draft 2026 party. It's sold out, so hopefully you got your ticket online a few days before the event. This place is hopping. There is an electricity in the air as we are waiting for the Wizards to make the number one overall pick in the 2026 NBA Draft.
You don't know who I encountered as I was running here. I parked about 4 blocks away, actually maybe further than that, because Cake said take a left on 7th Street.
Yeah.
And parking was so far away that I did a U-E and I parked in garage 3. So I ran by all the restaurants and all the shops, but there was one guy who stood out, and if he's here, he stands out. Georgie.
Well, I mean, Georgie Murasan is a big-time Wizards.
Did you already see him?
He's a Wizards ambassador. I mean, he is at a ton of the games.
George
He's
is my
always
boy.
in the building. He's a great dude.
And we once played a basketball game against him.
Well, that
For
was,
a moment at halftime.
That was so long ago. That's something that will never be replicated because we're now all too old, way too old to play any form of halftime entertainment basketball at a Wizards game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, those
That is
days are behind us.
Just not going to happen ever again.
But yeah, Georgie's a great guy. There's just a lot of enthusiasm across the community, within the organization. You know, as GP said, the fact that all 4 junks are here, I mean, we don't have to be here. I'll be honest with you. We're coming here because we're excited. We're excited.
Oh, yeah.
This is a
a
massive
transformational pick.
It's a massive day for the Washington Wizards franchise. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They've been kind of a laughing stock in the NBA, a team that has not been taken seriously by the league, by a lot of fans for many, many years. And hopefully tonight, with this number 1 pick, added to the talent that's already there, added to bringing in Trae Young and re-inking him, Anthony Davis, hopefully he wears a Wizards uniform at some point. There's real buzz and optimism that this team is going to be all about hopefully winning games and not about tanking games to get better draft position next year. That's the hope.
But I don't want to see 17 wins to 29 wins.
No, that's not acceptable.
Or 32 wins.
That's
I don't
not
want to. That's BS.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough. And I don't know what's going to happen with Davis.
Give me 20 wins better. 37.
All right, I'll take at minimum.
And you know what? If you ask Michael Winger, you know, like when he's not on mic, if 29 or 30 wins to be acceptable,
he'd say no
he
way.
would tell you that is not an acceptable jump for all the work that they put in and all the talent that they brought in.
If they keep all of the guys that they have right now and include whoever they draft, maybe add a couple free agents, because we haven't talked about they're going to add a couple pieces too.
Sure.
I'm looking at low 40s.
I like it. I like your optimism.
I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to translate into. I just know they have a talented roster. It's very young,
Yeah, I
but
know.
it's super talented.
I know. They got to keep them all together.
Yeah.
And one of those keys is Davis. Now, if Davis moves, if they trade him for another piece or pieces,
I don't think they're going to trade him. I think he told you right here.
Okay, that's fine. I don't want them to.
After they make their selection, they're pretty much done.
Yeah.
They're going to sit back and enjoy the draft. That's what he said. I mean, I guess he could be lying, but that's what he said.
Well, they might intend to trade him come trade deadline.
That's different.
That's
but some
possible.
people were speculating to trade him on draft night.
I thought it was possible. I mean, look at the guys who have already moved. You've
Right.
moved Giannis, you've moved Julius Randle in the last 24 hours. Those are pretty big names.
I think they've been honest. The moment they acquired those guys, their anticipation was to see how they meshed with this talent. I think they are determined to see how these guys mesh. And I think what they saw from Trae was enough that they gave him a pretty freaking big bag to stay.
They did.
When they could have, they knew, by the way, that they were going to get criticized for that bag, for it being that big. They knew.
That's okay. So, like, if you're convinced that he's your guy and he's going to be good in the locker room and help the young guys along, you got to stick to your guns.
Right. I love it. I love that they don't care.
Yeah.
And the truth is, in the NBA, the sticker price, it's absurd.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't follow the NBA to know who Ayu Dosunmu is.
I don't know that person.
Okay, he popped a little bit in the playoffs for the Timberwolves. He just signed a 5-year, $112 million deal.
Yeah.
And he is a little bit better than a role player, but he gives you 14 points a game.
That's what 14 gets you.
There's another guy. His name is escaping me. I know on my computer. He plays for the Utah Jazz. He's a whitey. He blocks some shots. He's kind of athletic.
Walker Kessler.
Him.
Yeah, Kessler.
Him.
He's a big guy.
Okay. He got offered like $135 million, and he's not signing it.
Yeah.
He's gonna, and that, like, if you ask 100 people in here who that person is, maybe 5 people would know.
But I got to
know-
tell you, my biggest impression being here, and I heard Jason talking about this as I sat behind you, is this city is starving for a winner on the basketball
They
court.
need it.
And this is a transformational pick, whether it's Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, or the likely pick. Shams is reporting it's probably going to be DeBonsa, which we've kind of known all along. If it is DeBonsa, this town is behind him.
And I thought Michael Winger, he may have tipped his hand a little bit when he said, this guy is dying to be here. When he said that, it kind of locked it in my brain. Well, DeBonsa's kind of dying to be the number 1 pick. He's made it known, I want to go number 1 overall. I've always been number 1, no matter where I've been. Probably elementary school, middle school, high school, AAU, BYU. He's been the number 1 guy. And I think that kind of is a window into their soul that DeBonsa's going to be the pick.
By the way,
I thought that too. But Darren Peterson canceled his interview in Utah. Not to say he doesn't want to be in Utah,
Right.
but I think he made a point of saying, I think I deserve to be the number 1
I'm
pick.
sure he and his camp believe that too.
Yeah.
And that's what you want out of guys.
but I think there are reports that he then did a workout for Utah
No,
afterwards.
he talked to him.
Okay.
He talked to him. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Of course he should
Well,
talk
he
to him.
should have.
Of course.
I mean,
just like DeBonsa talked to Utah like in the last three or 4 days.
I mean, look, I think what
These guys don't know.
what everybody here is waiting to see is whoever they take, if it's Peterson or DeBonsa, what they're going to add to the pieces and how competitive that team can be, as we're saying. So if you put DeBonsa in the lineup with Trae Young, let's put Keyshawn George on the court. Let's assume Anthony Davis is there and Sarr. That's a pretty solid starting 5. I don't know where that falls. I would still favor, teams like the Knicks and the Celtics and the top teams, even the Pistons. We'll see what happens with them in the offseason. Jalen Duren's a restricted free agent. But that lineup, just that 5 on paper, matches up pretty good against the top teams in the East.
It does. That's why I'm saying I expect if those guys are on the court, I'm expecting low 40s wins if they're all together for the entire year. Because there's just too much talent there. There's too much length. There's too much
And then you didn't even mention
athleticism.
Trey Johnson, who I think has so much room to grow. Bilal, who, they're counting on. I think everybody loves what they saw from Will Riley in the second half of the season.
Did you see the jersey I delivered to Cakes?
I mean, this is definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely a medium.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
made for Cakes.
I can definitely feel my tum-tum pressing up against the midsection of this jersey. But thank you, JP.
I think
the jersey was meant for Cakes. I don't know why I had a Koulibaly in my closet.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to bring this to give to Cakes.
Whoever they draft, they're going to have 8 or 9 players to be excited about. Coach,
Jimmy P.
Jimmy Patsos right here in front of us. By the way, you can listen on Team 980 and, of course, watch us on YouTube.
Yeah. So regardless of who they draft, it's more than just a starting 5. It's 9 or 10 guys, I think, that respectable guys that you can put into your rotation.
Yeah.
Right away. I do think it's going to be a drastically different team next year in terms of how these games play out, how competitive this team
And
is.
it's going to be a team that will garner national attention. I mean, every time like the high-profile games are mentioned, like Christmas Day games, you never expect the Wizards to be in those games. Like, they're going to be in those games now.
I still wouldn't expect them to be in those games right now.
Maybe not, but like
Maybe a year from now.
But they're building something
Yes.
where they're going to be one of those, hopefully, marquee teams that people from outside of D.C. are going to look at them and say, oh, look at what the Wizards have built. They were terrible a few years ago, and now they're contending for the playoffs, or they're at mid-40s in wins. Like, that's what you want to see out of this number 1 pick added to the mix of what they've already built here.
It's kind of crazy to think that they're going to be one of those teams, hopefully, in 2 or 3 years, that people are going to watch on Christmas,
right,
or whenever they're playing on the
whatever
holidays.
standalone game.
But let me throw out a team your way, and this team won 45 games last year. Like, we're wondering where the Wizards would be. Starting backcourt was Jalen Suggs and Desmond Bain.
Okay.
Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr. That's not an imposing lineup,
Right.
and they got 45 wins. Now, coaching has something to do with it. Team chemistry, experience has something to do with it. But on paper, you probably like Washington's roster over Orlando's roster, and that was a team that, they weren't at the top of the Eastern Conference. I think they finished 8th, but they won 45 games.
I know. Well, and even though that, there's not a lot of huge names, they're obviously very good players.
Sure.
They're very good players that they have. You don't win 45 games unless you got some good studs. But, yeah, I agree. I mean, but they have a star. Paolo's a star.
Yeah, he's a star player, and hopefully with this number 1 pick, that's what you expect.
Yeah,
you expect to draft a franchise cornerstone that is going to be a superstar in the league for at least a decade.
Yeah.
And that you're happy to give a max deal to after his rookie deal is up. That's what you're hoping for.
Let me give you another team, the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Would it be outrageous to say that Washington's lineup matches up with the Toronto Raptors' current depth chart? Their backcourt, Brandon Ingram, who can score. We know him. Manuel Quickley, he's okay. R.J. Barrett, offensive player. Scotty Barnes is an all-star.
Yeah.
And Jacob Podol at the center. I mean, it's not an overwhelming lineup. That was the 5 seed in the East.
I feel like the Wizards lineup with this pick added to it is better than that lineup.
That's what I'm saying.
Or is at least kind of on equal footing.
They would be in the mix. Just player for player looking at the roster. And that's what these people are starving for. We're starving for a winner because even though the team did not go far with John Wall and Bradley Beal, it was energized when they won a playoff series. This town was energized when they made it to Game 7 against the Boston Celtics, and then it just went away.
Well,
but that was fleeting.
A lot of what you're saying is true, just based on names on paper. You say that the Wizards match up. If they stay together, I would agree. But the other part of that is defensively, all those teams that you mentioned were better. They're better defensive teams. This team has to get better defensively. And I don't know how that starts or where it starts. I don't know if it's from the players, if it's Keith or all the scouts.
Well, I think
the defensive liabilities on this roster last year was atrocious.
Well, I think a big start would be if both Sarr and Anthony Davis are on the court
at the same time. Yeah.
That would really cure a lot of your defensive woes.
Yeah.
Now, we have the specter now of Alex Sarr injuring his foot, breaking a bone in his foot.
Yeah.
The team says he'll be healthy for the start of the season. It's a bit of a red flag.
Try not to worry about that.
On paper, DeBonsa should be a really good defense player. I know EB mentioned his metrics not good in college, but
well, even said he was kind of chilled on defense.
He's got he should be a great defensive player.
There's no reason why he can't be.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he can't be.
I mean, we're kind of split on this show. EB and I have been Darren Peterson guys, but Jay Billis said AJ DeBonsa is the type of player you build in a lab.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't argue.
He's a freak. He's a physical specimen. He's got size at that position and athleticism that's rare. And the Wizards have a chance to make him their top overall pick. And we're going to find out in about 26 minutes if it's going to be DeBonsa or Peterson or a wild card, which I don't think it's going to be the case. I think all signs point to it being
AJ,
one of those two players, Peterson or DeBonsa. DeBonsa, the overwhelming betting odds favorite to go number 1 to the Wizards.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you can rule out Boozer just on a lark because you can make the case for the kid. He's only 18 years old. What he did in college, what he's done at every level, winning. I think people think he's a plug-and-play 2010 guy at 18 years old. I just don't think you can rule it out.
Didn't our guest earlier today, I don't want to identify him incorrectly, he said he thought Boozer would have the best first year of all the top 3 players.
That's what Andrew Sharp said.
Yeah, Andrew Sharp. He thought he was the best for this upcoming year. Maybe not long-term highest ceiling, but for year 1 in the league, he's the most prepared, most ready. And that makes sense.
Jay Billis said he was the best basketball player.
Right.
Now, that's kind of confusing to me.
Right.
I've been watching basketball my entire life and playing it for a lot of it. Billis said that Boozer's the best basketball player, that Peterson was the most talented.
Yeah. And DeBonsa has the most upside.
And is that what he said?
I don't know.
He said he's the one that's built in a lab.
Built in a lab. All right, so I don't get that. You're pretty much telling me they're all the same. They're all freaking good. I don't know how you're the best basketball player but there's another guy who's more talented. Can you explain that to me?
I cannot explain it.
I think maybe the talented part is just the bucket getting, right?
Yeah.
So I watched Jay Billis, watched Seth Greenberg. They're two of the most preeminent college basketball voices in America. And to me, they're talking talented getting a bucket. And basketball player, to me, includes rebounding, defense, passing, all those other intangibles. And right now, they think Boozer's in the lead in those departments.
So he's saying Peterson's the best guy who can score.
Yes, that's my interpretation.
Yeah, I didn't get that. But
All right,
I think that it also could be Billis just being flat and just saying, I like all three of them.
covering his base.
At number one,
Yeah.
I'll take any three of them, any one of those three.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're under 30 minutes from the Wizards making the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. The Judges are broadcasting live from the anthem for the Wizards 2026 NBA draft party. We'll be right back on 106.7 The Fan.
Way back. That's a
Welcome
long
back
time
to
ago.
the Anthem, where we are live. It's a
20
Junkies NBA Draft special. Grant Paulson hanging out with Jason Bishop, Eric Bickle right now, our revolving door of hosts this evening, and we're joined by the Athletic senior columnist and Hall of Famer covering the NBA, David Aldridge. What a party this is. When people talk about DC as a basketball town, DA, this team getting 1-1 and packing this house with thousands tonight, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah, this is what. Wait. First of all, what is this mashup? It's like Fantasy Island and the Love Boat got together
Exactly.
and had a very special episode. What's going on with this?
This is a very special episode. That's true.
It's a special night, Da. It's a special night.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
I'm the Wizards. This is amazing. I'm stunned, and you've covered this league for a long time.
Yes.
I'm stunned that AJ DeMonta and Derek Houston, those guys, they don't actually know which of them is going. I'm stunned. Here we are 20 minutes before.
Yeah. Well, it's like was it 2023, the Jabari Smith draft, where everybody nobody knew that Banchero was going to win. Orlando kept it quiet till the night before, and then everybody said, "Wait a minute, you're taking Banchero?"
Yeah.
It's like that. And
Yeah.
It's rare, but it does happen in this league.
And we saw, Michael, and I'm sure you've seen him tonight, and so calm, collected. He slept well last night.
Yeah.
I mean, this organization is in incredible hands.
I would say that this is a modern NBA organization now
Yeah.
that does things that you're supposed to do and does them in order and doesn't skip steps. You have to have buy-in from ownership to do it that way. They got buy-in from ownership. Now, the other previous people could not get it for whatever reason. These guys did.
Right.
And whether that was Ted getting tired of being 38 and 44 every year or not, he greenlit these guys to do it the right way. They've done everything correctly so far, and this is a big payoff after 3 years of being awful. Just being really, really bad and hard to watch. So it's a hard sell to the fan base.
Yeah. But there's still a big question as to why this organization would give Trae Young $212 million.
Look, it was an overpay. Is he worth at his where he is right now? Is he worth $53 million? No, he's not.
He's not. No way.
I am not. It's not the apocalypse to me like some people make it out to be. Like he got overpaid about 20% over what you could have paid him, right? They don't have a point guard. I've watched Bub Carrington for 3 years. He's a good player. He's not a point guard. Okay, they need a point guard. They got one. They bought one. They traded for one. When you trade for Trae Young, you know he's a free agent.
Yeah.
You know what the price is. You agreed to the price. So that's kind of sunk costs at this point. They're not spending money on anybody else.
Right. They could do it. They could actually afford to do it.
Yes, it's not like if you go back, and I did, you go back and look when they gave Beal the max deal, which was $30 million more with a no trade clause, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
With a smaller cap.
With a smaller cap, and he was 2 years older at the time. Go look at that roster.
Yeah.
And tell me that roster could compete. That he's trying to lift to a playoff spot or further on. Just go look at it.
No, you're right. You're right about
Well,
that.
also, Beal at that time was the second highest player in the league with that deal.
That's right.
This one puts Trae in like 21st, 22nd.
He's in the top 20-ish.
Yeah, right. And then there's going to be other guys that make more, in
Right.
a half an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not a great deal, but it's not awful. They don't have to pay anybody till 28. That's when the bills start coming due.
Yeah.
David Aldridge of the Athletic, Junkie special from the Anthem in the draft party ahead of the NBA draft. The top of the board tonight.
Yeah.
How much of a debate do you think they actually had between DeBonta, Peterson, or somebody else? Or do you think when they got the number one pick, they're high-fiving and saying, we got AJ?
No, I think they looked at it hard. I think it was much closer than I thought it was. It's still close. I thought it was like 75-25 when the day of the lottery. Now it's probably more like 55-45 at this
Really?
point. Yeah. Darren's good. And they had to do a deep dive. What happened with the creatine? And all, they seem to think the explanation. They've accepted it. I think what it comes down to, guys, is if you think Darren Peterson can play the point in this league, then you might have taken him over AJ. if you think he's more of a 2, he's still a really good 2, but he is a kind of average size 2. He's a tall point guard. He's an average size 2 guard. Trey Johnson's 6'6".
Yeah.
Peterson's 6'4.5". So the guy you drafted last year is taller than him. So I think that's what it came down to. They told you what they thought. They just gave Trey Young $200 million. They told you he's a better point guard. He's the guy we're going to rock with for the next couple of years. And at that point, if you're projecting Darren Peterson to be a wing player, I think AJ's a better prospect as a wing player.
So you
position.
So you disagree with John Wall, who's his idea that he plays off the ball more.
Right.
That makes more sense.
John has forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know. He is entitled to have his opinion. I have a different opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that all of the metrics that AJ isn't as good as DP.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get better at those.
Look,
he's not going to be a great 3-point shooter. That's fine.
Right. But he shot 33% last year, which is not good, but it's not 25%.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like,
he can get that to 36%.
Get it to 36, you're fine, right?
Right.
So I think they have nobody that puts pressure on the rim. Nobody. None of their guys. And I like some of their guys. Keyshawn George is going to be a good player. I think Trey Johnson's going to be a good player. None of them put pressure on the rim. They don't take contact. They don't play through contact. Jabonsa plays through contact. He's 270 pounds today.
Yeah.
Which means that in 3 years he's going to be 230.
Yeah. He's.
By the way, the ovation behind us moments ago, if you're listening at home, John Wall just came out on stage.
There's J-Dub.
So as you can imagine, the house
this is nuts.
Went nuts. Yeah, he was the last 1-1 for the Wizards 16 years ago, and it was him helping to deliver 1-1 this time, going to the lottery as the balls finally bounced the Wizards' way. As far as the vision for next year, Trey Young gets his extension. We started with that.
Right.
Anthony Davis. That's a weird kind of murky cloud still hanging over all of this. Is there any chance he gets traded tonight?
No, I don't think tonight.
Okay. And do you expect him to play for this team at the start of the year?
I do. Now, will it be the full year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I do. I don't think they're going to give him an extension like they just gave Trey Young. He wants a max extension. I don't think they're going to give him one. And so at that point, you have to decide, all right, what's the end game here then? Because he's got an opt-in for not this coming season, but the following season. He wants a new deal instead of that. So the realistic avenue is probably he gets traded at some point, whether it's by the deadline, this year's trade deadline, or next summer. Probably then, I would think. Yeah. Unless they change their mind on the extension. Right now, I do not think they're going to give him an extension.
We've been talking about the expectations of how many wins this team could get if Davis is there.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, you go from 17. I'm expecting if all these guys are still on the court together, I'm expecting somewhere in the high 30s to low 40s.
I think look,
and that puts you right in that play in or maybe even the playoffs.
I looked it up last night.
Yep.
Golden State was the last play-in team. They were the 10th team in the West. They were 38-44.
Right.
So that's about the number is 38 wins. So if we accept, and I think you should, that they tanked so egregiously last year, there were guys that were healthy that could have been playing. They would have won. They wouldn't have won 17 games last year. They would have won 25 games.
Correct,
so
correct.
If you're saying this is a 25-win team and they add 10 wins, which is not, I think, unrealistic, then you're there. You're at that number.
We're getting ready to watch the draft. It's going to look different next year in terms of seeding because of the rules changes. I don't know how you guys felt, but the tanking changes. Where are you on those?
The only thing I didn't like, you want to change the rules. You can change the rules. It's your league. What I didn't like is that there are teams that made trades for future draft picks, thinking that the teams they were getting those picks from are going to be bad in the out years, and that's why you made the pick. Now you made the trade.
That's a great point.
And now you have no idea where those picks are going to fall. And I think that's unfair to teams that were trying to plan for future where they could build through the draft. You changed the rules on them, but you didn't grandfather them in to let them pick to keep the pick that they wanted, that they traded for. I just think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, but I think we also agree something had to change. It was just too much.
It was 10 teams tanking. I don't think in a normal year you'd have 10 teams. That's how good this draft is.
Right.
Everybody was
Oh,
like,
you think that was kind of a
absolutely.
referendum on just
sure.
wanting to be in the lottery?
Got to be in this draft.
Yeah.
You ask people the last 3 years, which draft is the real draft? They didn't say 25 to have Cooper Flagg at the top. They said 26 was the draft you want to be in at the top because you just have, and you see it. You've got 5 guards that are going to go in the top 10 this tonight.
Yeah.
They're really good.
They're good players.
The top 4, any one of the guys that's in the top 4 will be the number 1 pick next year.
That's what's crazy to me is like picking 11 tonight or something.
Yeah,
you're going to get a player you might normally get at 3.
Exactly.
It's
You're going to get a
wild.
really good player. That's how deep. Now, after the first round, you don't want to have a second round pick because everybody went back to college, So guys that Mullins, who would have been a first round pick, went back to college. The kid that was at Kansas, the big kid, transferred to Louisville, I think.
Yeah.
He would have been a lottery pick. So there's so many guys that went back in. So the back half of the second round's not good. It's not going to be good. There's going to be seniors that aren't good enough.
I just think that the top of this draft, when I say the top, I mean 1 through about 13.
Yeah,
13.
it's really good.
There's going to be some studs. Some of these guards that GP was mentioning, I'm a big A-Cup fan.
He's a monster.
The Kingston Flemings kid is legit.
Another monster.
Yeah, I just think there's so many good guards that can shoot it.
Yeah,
that are going to come right in and score.
Yeah,
I really do.
No, I agree. I don't see any of them. I mean, somebody will fail because somebody always does. But boy, those 5 are good. They are really good.
I don't anticipate the Wizards making a trade. I think they're going to make this selection. I think they're going to keep them.
Yeah.
But after that,
yeah,
could we see some craziness?
You mean getting back in the? Oh, you mean
no, not even from the Wizards' perspective, but from other teams trying to get into that top 10.
Maybe, but I think it's going to be hard to get in the top 10 tonight because
this is the draft. Yeah.
You're going to get a really good player at 9 or 10, and so teams that normally wouldn't care so much about a late lottery pick or holding on to it. Milwaukee making the Giannis trade now. They got 2 picks. They can't trade those picks. They
10 and 13.
They got to take somebody. They're in total rebuild now. So.
They
They
can get 2 really good players at 10 and 13.
Hey, look, they've been tied to Nate Ament, who you guys know, the local guy.
Yep.
He is good. And he could be there at 10. Braden Burries from Arizona could be there at 10. These are real guys.
Yeah.
So people are more inclined, I think, to hold on to their picks this year.
To EB's question, this front office has maneuvered in all 3 drafts.
Yes.
1.5 as an over/under for picks for the Wizards tonight.
Yeah.
What would you go?
I would say it's less likely than I thought, because I did ask.
Winger on air just said
he basically said, they're probably done.
Yeah.
They're probably done tonight.
But you just look at Charlotte's got 14 and 18. OKC's got 12 and 17. Those are teams that are really not looking to draft 2 guys tonight.
Yeah.
So there's picks to be acquired. And it just seems like that would be a place that you could get a Jalen Quaintance who played at Kentucky, or Chris Senack who was at Houston. They need a big. They know that AD's not a long-term solution here. So getting another big with some size would be a good move for this team tonight.
David Aldridge of The Athletic. Nobody in this town. Voice on basketball more important. Thank you for hopping on with us.
Well, thank you. This is great. Great for the city. I'm happy for it.
I said to these guys when we started, there's been nights like this we've broadcasted. It's never been a Wizards night.
No,
not like Commanders, like parades for the Nats and the Caps.
Right.
This is a Wizards night.
This is a Wizards night.
And it's a Tuesday night. Look at this.
Right.
It's wild.
Right.
Thanks, DA.
All right.
The draft is getting ready to start. The Junkie Special from the Anthem on Draft Night continues next.
Junkies are coming to you live from the Anthem at the Wharf in downtown DC, site of the Wizards NBA Draft 2026 party. We are just minutes away from the NBA Draft kicking off in New York.
You know what's crazy about this is I'm sitting here thinking about this?
Yeah.
So years ago, almost 30 years ago, we did a couple of NFL draft shows.
Yeah.
And that was before the NFL draft became what it is, which is a monster with, hundreds of thousands of people attending. Yeah. But I think there's more people here at the Anthem than we did the NFL draft shows.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And we did that from Madison Square Garden. Now, it wasn't the main Madison Square Garden. It was
I'm not sure about that. There were a lot of fans there.
Side theater, but I'm
not sure.
This is a sold-out venue tonight.
I think you're probably right.
The Wizards had these tickets available online for people to grab before the event, and they were sold out as of this morning. So there's clearly a buzz.
What were they
people want to
charging?
be a part of it. There's no charge. I think it was just.
Oh, it was free.
I think it was free admission.
All right.
But people, look, the place is sold out. There's a buzz to see who the Wizards are going to select at number one.
Well, I'm sure you talked about this in the first segment. I got here right when the show started. The parking garages speak for how many people are here.
Well, it's absurd.
Yeah, I'm never coming back.
And every restaurant was full.
Yeah.
Because I parked 0.7 miles away from here at Parking Garage 3. So I had to walk by every restaurant. It was all jumping.
This place is hopping. The entire wharf spot is electric. You can feel it, and you can certainly feel it inside the Anthem as we're now feeding in with the ESPN broadcast of the draft. And this is going to move quickly, too, because there's only 5 minutes between picks in the first round. Like, they hammer these picks out relatively quickly.
After the first pick, I don't even care.
Well, no, you care about the second pick. If it's
not really. I just want to.
You want to see where DP goes.
No, honestly, once we get our guy,
You're done?
root for him.
You're done?
I just want to lock in on our guy.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, look, Eric and I have been in the Darren Peterson camp. You've been a little bit all over. I think ultimately you're a DeMonsa guy, but you were a big Boozer backer.
I like Boozer. I just think I'm kind of like Jay Billis. I think all three of those guys are going to be studs. But it goes
I
deeper
agree with
than that. It goes deeper than that. I think I've talked about some of these guards that are in this draft
Oh, yeah.
that I watched play in college.
You sold me on A-Cuff months ago.
If A-Cuff was 6'6" or 6'7", he'd be the top pick. There's so much talent, young talent in this draft, especially at the guard position.
But, maybe that's stupid thinking because the guy that just led the Knicks to the championship is 6'2", maybe.
Yeah.
Listed at 6'2". Jalen Brunson is a small guy and just carried the Knicks on his back to a championship.
And just think about the four fan bases that are sitting at the top of this draft, how pumped and thrilled each one of them are with whatever player they're going to get. Because we know the Wizards, they can pick whoever they want. They're sitting at number one. The Jazz, they can just stand pat at number two, and whoever they like that doesn't go number one falls to them. At number three, the Memphis Grizzlies, they could land Cam Boozer, who some think is the most pro-ready guy, and they just sit there at three, and their guy falls to them.
I feel bad for him if he has to go live in Memphis.
I mean, that part's not great, but you got to start your career somewhere. And the Bulls, they didn't expect to be picking at number 4, so they just have Caleb Wilson potentially fall in their lap if the draft goes as expected. So all four of those fan bases have to be thrilled with where they're sitting tonight.
By the way, again, to reiterate the fact that even though it very well may be A.J. DeMonsa and the betting markets are wild and everything, Brian Windhorst just 20 minutes ago said on ESPN, quote, "I'm in the information business, and I have no idea who the Wizards are going to select."
I mean, credit to Michael Winger, credit to Will Dawkins.
It is unbelievable to me. I'm just stunned.
And here comes Adam Silver.
Yeah, Adam Silver making his way to the podium at Barclays Center in New York.
And again, this place is electric. CK was here, and we were talking about it. About 10 years ago, this team had a little window where they were making the playoffs, and John Wall and Bradley Beal were leading to the playoffs. I went to a couple of playoff games. It was electric. This fan base is dying for this team to get good again, and this can be the start of a team that ultimately is not just going to be a team that makes a second round, but a team that can compete for championships. That's what Will Dawkins and Michael Winger were brought here to do.
That's the goal. The goal.
Ted Leonsis said, you guys build a champion. They gutted the team. They tanked. And now is the time it's supposed to turn around.
Yeah. This is the culmination of it. This is hopefully a huge moment for the franchise.
And by the way, it hasn't all just been smooth. They got rid of Denny Avia. That upset people. They acquired Trae Young. That kind of upset people. They acquired Anthony Davis. That people were questioning that. but they have had a plan all along, and they've done a pretty darn good job of executing to date.
They have a plan.
Well, you
and
forget all the people that they acquired along the way, like
Well,
the Chris
those don't-
Middletons
Yeah, but
Well,
and the
yeah,
C.J.
But
McCollums.
that's all part of their
Those-
master plan.
Those were a means to an end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many guys that you could probably go through. I think D'Angelo Russell was here for the nine.
He,
Yeah,
he
he
never, he just picked up a player option for $6 million. I was
Right.
like, where did that come from?
right.
But,
I'd
you know,
like to make $6 million.
I mean,
I will say that. All right, the Wizards are on the clock, right?
All right. Wow.
the Wiz now on the clock, 5
Look at-
minutes to make their selection. And look, they're not going to rush this up to a podium. This
Is
is,
it-
this is their time in the spotlight. Like, let's let this pick breathe a little bit.
Well,
Take
the-
your
the-
full
well,
4.5, 5
The
minutes.
NBA tells them to do that.
Yeah. of course.
Isn't it amazing though how life's changed? Because I'm
Oh, I
I'm
just-
hearkening back to the NFL draft, right,
Yeah.
where we went, and now everybody here just puts up their phone. Like they
Sure.
don't just experience it; they got to experience it and record
I
it.
mean, I just had a moment in my fields. They showed an exterior shot of the old Capitol Center during the Bullets championship run. In the
Well,
late
they also
70s.
just showed Kwame Brown.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad.
There's just so much drama here. I just can't tell you how stunned I am that we don't know who this pick is going to be in
This
about
place,
4 minutes.
this place is going to go crazy. I don't care who the name is.
I think it's gonna be a weird response if it's
There's Michael Winger.
Brian.
There's
Keane.
Will Dawkins.
Oh, there's the war room that you wanted to see.
They're
Oh,
they're right here. Cisco on the wharf.
Yeah,
They're right here.
They're right around the corner. They're
Yeah.
here in the same complex.
Hey, is my
so-
son in the background? My son's working for Monumental, so I haven't seen
Hey.
him. He said he's on the second floor.
Hey, tell him to give us the pick, to give us a skinny on the pick. Tell him to get to work.
Everyone wants the Bonza. I mean, you can hear that.
Oh, the
Let's-
crowd, for
let's-
sure.
Yeah.
It's been overwhelming from day one. But why the secrecy? That's what I don't understand. I cannot wait. I cannot.
Well, you don't have much time left to wait. The Wizards are on the clock. They've been on the clock for about 2 minutes. The pick
By the way,
should be
I
incoming
saw
soon.
I saw an interview with John Calipari recently. I think it was on Colin Cowherd's show. Do you know how many guys he's cranked into the NBA
Oh,
that were first rounders?
Dozens,
I
I'm
think
guessing.
Cowherd said something like 44, and he corrected him. He goes, "No, 48,"
Yeah, he definitely knows. That guy's got a massive ego. He knows
including
exactly how many.
a bunch of number one picks, because he was saying he wanted Acuff, of course, to go number one.
Right.
Wow. You can see AJ Devonta's lips kind of quivering a little bit. I feel for these kids, man. They're 18 years old, 19 years old. They have no idea where they're about to start their professional careers here just momentarily.
I think AJ Devonta knows where he's going to start his
Yeah, I
professional
know.
career. I think it's right around the corner from this building that we're sitting in right now.
Where's he going to? He might be living down in the Navy Yard.
Could be. You won't stalk where try to find out where he lives, Jason.
I will.
I think you should.
It's crazy how Tim Legler is kind of like he's going up the ladder quick. For Tim Legler,
Yeah, he's a media star.
he
Yeah, I
really
know.
is.
No doubt
yeah.
about it.
Now he was calling the NBA Finals.
What do we think of AJ Devonta's fit? He's got like a black jacket.
Looks great.
Looks. I can't tell what are on the shoulders.
I
There's
don't
some
know.
sort of embroidery.
Did
there.
you see the little interview where the three top guys were asked who's the best shooter, who's the best scorer, and
I
they
did
would
not.
point to each other,
I did not.
and they said who's got the best fit?
Yes.
They all pointed to Devonta.
Devonta,
Yeah.
He's-
Yeah.
I mean, they all. It was Boozer
He's-
and Peterson.
He's a superstar. He knows he's a superstar, and that's probably why he's going to be the name that gets read out by Adam Silver in
Pick
about
is in.
90 seconds. All right, the pick is in.
Oh boy.
Here comes Adam Silver to the podium in just a bit.
Oh boy.
All right, enough.
You already know who it is.
I actually do not.
Oh, yeah.
I actually don't. I have no idea.
I guess I'll record it for our Instagram, Sports Junkies Radio,
Yeah.
the reaction.
Yeah, you should. No, I'm not going to look at Twitter. I don't want Twitter to ruin it.
Yeah, you
for
don't
me.
need to be spoiled. Let's
I've waited.
experience it with the crowd here at the Anthem.
I've waited
Down at
this
the
long.
wharf. The Wizards, they're making the pick at the hotel, like right around the corner from where we're broadcasting from.
Yeah, isn't that
The
crazy?
pick is officially in, hasn't been announced yet.
These guys do not know. None of these guys know. This just is very, very rare with a player and his agent.
But I
do
like it.
not
You know what? They're selling the drama. There's suspense. There's a reason for people to tune in and watch. There's no tipping of the hand. We're going to know as soon as Adam Silver reads the name.
There's Calipari right behind
I
him.
know.
Plug this in.
What drama? And everybody's got their phone out. Again, How many thousands of people are here?
I mean, this place holds like 4,500 people.
Yeah,
I think they said about 5,000.
Yeah. Massive crowd down here at the Anthem. We'll be broadcasting live throughout the NBA draft. Wizards about to make the pick. The pick is in. It has not been announced yet.
We're all shut down your Twitter. We don't want to look if Shams or anybody.
Yeah, I'll shut mine down.
All right. If anybody, has spoiler, we're not going to look.
All right, we're just waiting for Adam Silver to make his way to the podium.
Adam Silver doesn't get the booze that Roger Goodell gets when he steps to the podium.
No, he's not nearly as hated.
He's my boy.
I literally have a pit in my stomach. And by the way, I think they can't go wrong either way.
I think Dabansa knows. Look at his eyes. Looks like he's been crying. EB, you're the people reader.
I can't read
What do
them.
you think?
Believe me, I've been studying them. He has a calmness to him. Cam Boozer he's the one that has a real calmness to him.
If they read Cam Snoozer's name, I'm going to fall out of my chair.
No, Caleb Wilson would make you fall out of your chair.
I might barf if they say Caleb Wilson.
But you've watched them in college basketball about the same.
I would root for any name that gets mentioned here because I'm a big Wizards mark. But I don't think it's either of those names you just mentioned.
If it's not AJ, the always bet against cakes has never been stronger.
Yeah, then the brand has some legs. All right, the pick is in.
All right, here we go.
Here comes Adam Silver.
Here we go.
Making his way to the podium.
Here we go.
2026 NBA Draft. The Washington Wizards select Anise Debonsa Jr.
Yes, there it is. AJ Debonsa, the #1 overall pick to the Wizards.
And listen to this place.
The crowd is erupting here at the Anthem. They love the pick as he makes his way to the podium, hugging his family. Huge moment for him. The BYU product is heading to the District of Columbia. He is the #1 overall pick of the 2026 NBA Draft. That is your next superstar to root for here in Washington, D.C.
And he's going to be exciting. He is the most marketable guy. We talked about whether that should matter, and it really shouldn't. But he's got the swag. He's got the persona.
He's a good-looking kid.
And his game on the court is exciting because he is an amazing dunker.
He's gonna be a superstar. He just is. And his dad is a police officer. He's from a great family. He's a good kid. I think Washington Wizards fans should be happy.
Seemingly has
AJ
a great support system around him. He's already a pro. Like he was a pro at BYU in the NIL era.
Look at this crowd. This crowd is going bananas. This is who the crowd has wanted since they drew the pick.
Yep.
It's been 85-15 in public sort of reaction to this the entire time. This is who the fan base wanted. Michael Winger and Will Dawkins agreed. They give the people who they want.
And look, Michael Winger was with us last hour. He said that the #1 pick was dying to be here in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
So Debonsa made it clear to them through his workouts, through his interviews, he wanted to be the #1 pick. He wanted to be here. He wanted to be a Washington Wizard. And that's a huge thing. Like, there have been a lot of players that haven't wanted to be Washington Wizards over the years.
No doubt.
To hear that from the top player in a loaded draft is refreshing. Welcome to DC, AJ Debonsa. This is a great pick.
If he's the number, if he plays the 2, which he can, they have a gigantic lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just go with your guy Bilal, because let's say they want to focus on defense, and assuming Anthony Davis is here, and they go Bilal as your front court with Sarr and Anthony Davis, and then Debonsa in the back court.
Yeah.
That is a way that you mask the deficiencies of Trae Young.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, this team has to play better defense, and they will, because last year was an embarrassment. Those other teams we talked about were allowing about 12, 13 points less per game. When you allow 125 per game, you're not going to win, but that's going to change.
The one thing that David Aldridge said that really resonated with me when we had him here just a few moments ago was how we all know AJ attacks the basket. Yeah. He's a rim pressure guy. And the point that we really don't have somebody like that. That really did register with me when he said that.
That's huge. The fact that I know that there's critique of Trae Young and the money that he got. This Wizards team is desperate for offense. They need offensive production. They were the sixth worst offense in the league last year. So
now that being said, their best offensive players weren't playing a lot, but
understood. But now you keep Trae Young in the fold. You add a guy like Devonta who should be pouring in 20 points a night as a rookie. Like that's the expectation.
I think he's
a superstar.
He should be close to that.
That's what he should be doing. So that gives this Wizards offense a shot in the arm that they desperately need.
I actually am still stunned by it all. I really am. But this is who the fan base wanted. This is what the markets predicted. This is what the media guys said. This is what all the mocks had. So, hats off to them. They had it right. They got their guy.
AJ.
Amazing.
And
just
by the way,
amazing.
he's only going to be AJ here. He's not going to be Devonta.
Oh, he's an initials guy.
From day one, he's AJ.
Yeah.
Well, now we'll see where DP goes, but I think Wizards fans should be really excited.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't really care. I don't really care where he goes now.
Well, it's probably going to go to Utah.
I mean, who knows? I have no idea.
Wouldn't it be awesome? Well, not awesome, but very ironic if he goes to Memphis and Boozer goes to Utah because of his dad.
Right.
Very possible. Very possible.
Now, from what I've read, his dad is a scout and primarily does his work in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's not really that attached.
Okay,
I know that he played for the Jazz.
But he's still part of the organization.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think he can easily move his fandom to whatever team that his son lands on. So,
he could scout for them.
Yeah.
Not that big a deal. Yeah.
And Darren Peterson's he's gonna be a great
he
coach.
looks like he's got the teary eyes. He already knows.
I don't think he knows.
He might
I
be
think he
crying because
knows.
he knows he's going to Utah. That could be part of the it's a joke. But look, this debunked any sort of logic that the Jazz were desperate for Devonta. We're going to trade up one spot. That clearly
Or the
didn't
Wizards
happen.
shut it down. I mean, there's a possibility.
Right.
This we'll probably never know.
Right.
But they might have tried.
would
And
be it, yeah.
I mean, there were reports that the Wizards had absolutely no interest in ever trading out of the number one
Oh,
pick.
and by the way, tomorrow on the Junkies, we will be joined by Wizards general manager Will Dawkins. I believe it's at 8 a.m. Don't quote me on that.
No, that's it. It's
8 a.m.
scheduled for 8.
So he's scheduled for 8. So we'll be able to pick his brain all about AJ Devonta, the process.
when they knew that he was the guy.
When they locked in, how long they've been keeping it under wraps from us. All right, the pick is now in for the Utah Jazz. They select number 2 overall.
With the second pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Darren Peterson.
There it is. It's
All right,
going it's going by the book
It's
now.
true to form. This is now where I wish I had gone on a betting site
then-
and bet the first 4.
Yeah.
Devonta,
But didn't you?
Peterson,
Boozer, Wilson.
Wilson.
But didn't you bet on England to win today against Ghana?
So
Yes, that was in my. It was in my 2-game
I
parlay.
had
JP.
England. I had England in a bunch of
I
parlays.
mean, how you can't score 1 goal against Ghana?
They hit the post.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Hey, we told the guy to
Would he lose
cash out.
$700K on that?
Lost
I know.
$700K.
I know he hedged about $70K.
Hedged a little bit, but I would have taken the $100K. That would have been the smart move. But all right, so Darren Peterson, number 2 overall, he heads to the Utah Jazz. Not a real surprise there.
They're going to have an interesting backcourt.
So he'll join Keontae George in Utah. They share the same agent. There were rumblings there that they didn't want him to land there because they want all those guys to get as many touches as they can, and this is going to complicate things. But look, if you're
I
Danny
think
Ainge,
that's crazy.
you can't worry about that sort of thing. You just take the best
He
player.
doesn't care about
He's
that.
the best player. Danny Ainge selects him for the Utah Jazz.
And that's smart. It really is. It's a smart pick.
I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. But I think AJ is going to be one too.
Yeah.
By the way, John Wall is scheduled to join us here shortly, so I will hand him my headphones
Fantastic.
happily.
That is great.
Now, John Wall was a Peterson guy, but we can ask him about his thoughts on Devonta.
Well, he said both. He said they'd be great with either one tonight.
Yeah.
You know, he got coached up.
But originally,
Yeah. No,
he
you're
was a Peterson guy.
He was stumping for Peterson
He thought
at one
he
point.
thought it was a better fit with the way Trey plays.
Even before the Trey thing. Like, he was saying this a month ago.
Yeah.
And he's a big college basketball guy. Obviously, he's going to be working in college basketball
They're
now.
working with Howard, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think that's awesome, by the way.
It's an
that's great.
incredible time.
Let me ask you this:
I can't believe
if AJ
crazy.
DeBonsa became as good as John Wall, are you happy with that, or do you think he has to be more than that?
I mean, I think you would like to see him lead the Wizards deeper into the playoffs than John Wall, and that's not a shot at John Wall. But
I think he has a better supporting cast. Ultimately, I think he will.
I mean, John Wall at one point had Bradley Beal, who was the number 3 pick, Otto Porter, who was the number 3 pick. So that was a team that had young talent.
No, but
Otto was the number 3 pick in a really bad draft.
But like I said
also.
earlier, when John Wall was coming out, he was as good, if not better, than all of these guys as college basketball players.
That's what I'm saying.
So I think you would love the fact.
I think you'd be thrilled if he could be as good as John Wall.
They're different players. But yes, you would love that. If he was as good as a player and productive as John Wall, but you need to go higher up in the
yes.
And by the way, the
postseason.
The NBA's got it down. 5 minutes between picks in the first round. It flies by. It's good TV. It's quick. It's fast paced. And the NFL knew years ago when they had 15 minutes, I believe, between first round picks, like we got to tidy this up. We got to tighten things up. Now it's 10. But I like the pace of this draft. Already 2 guys off the board in AJ DeBonsa and Darren Peterson going to Utah.
Yeah.
By the way,
the Grizzlies on the clock.
I also just don't think you can overstate what a life-changing moment this is for all these guys.
Oh, yeah.
How hard they work. Their hard work pays off. Even Cam Boozer, if he goes next, he's had a nice life with a nice family. But the hard work, it doesn't happen without hard work. It's not just born with genes. These guys work their asses off to get where they are, and they get generational wealth for their families. It's an unbelievable night.
And the best ones obviously don't stop working once they're drafted. They know that if they want to get where they want to go, win rings, establish their legacy, that they have to keep outworking everybody to stay at that level and improve and get even better.
So that's one thing we've learned from our interviews with Will Dawkins and Michael Winger and everything here is they value guys who are gym rats, and that's what they've been doing. I wanted to ask you this. So if you were the coach, would you go DeBonsa at 2 with Keyshawn George, or would you start Trey Johnson at the 2 with DeBonsa at the 3, and then Keyshawn George comes off the bench?
I don't know.
Assuming you have Sarr and Anthony Davis.
They're going to try them all. I know they love Keyshawn. And I think they really like what they got from Trey in his first year.
Yeah, I think Trey. I like Trey off the bench. I think Trey. He's a nice scorer off the bench.
Yeah,
especially because he's a catch and shoot guy. I don't know how good these guys are defensively.
So you'd like Trey off the bench, Will Riley off the bench.
Yep.
Yes.
Keyshawn George is a starter.
I think so.
Keyshawn George as a
to
starter.
Start, yeah. And then we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
My guy Bilal off the bench. I've learned to live that he is probably not a starter.
That's
but
all right.
He
could be a defensive guy.
Yeah.
Or you could start him and then you bring Keyshawn, Will, and Trey off the bench.
Yep.
Nah, you can't start Koulibaly. Sorry, you can't do that.
I don't know. I think all things are up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think all things are up for grabs.
They have options. That's the thing is that EB talked about this during the year. Is the guys maybe were ahead of schedule because that's why they shut them down so much. I mean, these young guys played half the season.
Yes.
And they weren't legitimately injured. Let's be real.
It's going to be cool.
We're well aware that the tank was on and they were actively trying to lose games.
It's going to be cool next year. Not next year, this year, later in the year, but to see how those guys all perform. We're going to be looking forward to these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to last year, we didn't care. Yeah. We were going to see how many points they give up.
Dude, Grizzlies pick is now in.
We're going to watch Summer League.
Yeah.
So Cam Boozer goes number 3 to the Memphis Grizzlies. His dad there in attendance, clapping him up.
So cool.
Hugging his son.
So cool.
As he goes and gets ready to put on that Memphis Grizzlies lid.
Also from a great family.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about the best of the best, man.
Yeah, I know.
The best of the best. Think about all the kids that play this game and play it at a high level. This is the best of the very best. It's really, really cool. So
is
far,
his brother going to be in the NBA?
I don't know. I think his brother's going to be a 4-year college player. Then maybe.
I mean, he will be an NBA player. He's not going to be a top 3 pick.
You never know. Everybody's got a different path, man.
I just think it's cool, man. All these kids seem like really good kids.
Yep. Good families, good kids, raised right, respectful. I know things got a little crazy with DP at Kansas, but I think they were just trying to get through it the best they could for this destination right now.
By the way, Carlos Boozer, he's as strong as a freaking ox. He's just a strong MFer.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows how to use his body, too. He's really good down there. I mean, he can play on the perimeter, too, because he can hit jumpers.
All right, here comes John, by the way.
J-Dog.
Great John in.
I'm going to step aside.
Legend.
Yeah, we're about to be joined by John Wall, Wizards legend, #1 overall pick back in 2010. He's about to sit down with the Junction, broadcasting live from the Anthem down at the Wharf.
So it'll be interesting to see, by the way, Cakes, if it continues to form and if Caleb Wilson goes next to the Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
All right, we're trying to get John. John going to sit down right here. GP, going to sit down? All right. There's madness. There's chaos. There's a ton of fans coming by saying hello. John Wall's behind us. He's talking to DA. GP sat down for a second.
What's going on?
Well, so far, as expected, you got to give it up to Poly Market and FanDuel and everybody.
We said the back that is normally taken, very rarely, but that happens with sports books is drafts because they just don't know anything.
Yeah.
They were on this one. And this
They
has been
nailed
chalky
it.
so far, all 3 of the picks.
Yep, and I think the Bulls, I mean, I'll be stunned if they don't take Caleb Wilson. Then I think it gets crazy.
Yeah, the first 4, I think, assuming nothing crazy happened, we kind of had a feel for. But we're at a point now after pick 4 with the Bulls, if Wilson goes, where the draft starts. We're joined now by one of the great Wizards of all time, John Wall, who got the largest ovation of the night. Not only the last 1-1 before A.J. Debonsa, but the guy that delivered the #1 pick to the Wizards at the lottery this year. You just saw the reaction of this crowd. A.J. Debonsa, the pick. What do you think?
I think it's great. Like I said, I want to see. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. Bringing Trae Young back. AJ needs the ball in his hands, but I think they can make it work. But it's going to take some time. But I think you got to see what you have with all those young guys and see how they can develop. But the most important part is you see the fans' reaction. That's all you care for. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you get the opportunity to get the guy you want, sometimes you don't get the #1 pick. You might have #5, and you got to pray he falls. When you're the first on the board, it's the easiest thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, David said, I saw you talking to DA there before you came on with us. He made a point before the pick that everybody knows how AJ pressures the rim, and we don't really have guys like that. You pressure the rim as a point guard. Trae doesn't really do that. He can get the basket, he can finish, but that element that AJ brings, how important is that?
It's super important because now with the NBA, it's so much spacing. If you got guys that can knock down shots, it wasn't like when I came in when the paint was packed. It's more spread now.
Right.
So you can have shooters around him. You can put him in different positions. He can run pick and roll. He can make plays. You can put him in the mid-post. You can run him off pin downs. But most importantly is you want to get in the bonus as quick as possible. And he's one of those guys that are going to put pressure on the rim and get you in foul trouble and give you opportunity to get to the free throw line when it's late in the game in those 4 quarters.
So do you think Anthony Davis is going to be here for a full year?
I don't believe so. In my opinion, I don't.
So do you think he'll be traded before the season or at the deadline?
I think he'll be anything. Anything's possible. It could be a trade tonight. It could be a trade before the deadline. I think so. I think at the same time he wants an extension. You know what I mean? Trae just get one. He has 2 years left, 58 this year, 62 next year, which is a lot of money. And you got young guys that's coming up for contract extension, they rookie extension. So I think it's going to be a tough part. You got to see what happens. But most importantly, he got to show that he's healthy to see if he could be tradable.
This team's been hunting for a point guard since youth, and we've been in that purgatory. Trae Young could be that guy, and I hope so for $212 million.
I feel like he won't be the same player as me, but he's a person that can go get 10 assists. He can run your team. He's took the team to the Eastern Conference Finals before.
Everybody talks about he's like a 25 and 10 guy. Could he be a 20 and 12 guy? Like maybe it's a little less ball handling, a little more assists.
And listen, you got that guy coming in the door. It got to be a little lot less about ball handling. You can't have the ball as much now because you have another person that can create for himself and create for others. Right. So it might be a 18 and 14 night. It might be a 19 and 12 night. He's done it before. We've seen everything Trae Young could do. But at the same time, he has a chip on his shoulder because he have a lot of people doubting him because of things that went on in Atlanta, not finishing and playing as much last year when he got traded. So he has a big target on his back of what he's trying to prove.
The other thing, John, that I love about Trey, just in the fight, is the way he embraced the city.
Yeah.
You embraced the city that
You
way.
have to.
That's why we fell in love with you. He did the same thing, immediately won the fan base over.
If you don't, listen, what you do on a basketball court means a lot to the city. But if you don't touch the community and touch the people, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's what you got to go out there and do the things in the community, give back to the community, show that you're regular. I want these guys to go to Berry Farm, go see Miles down there and go watch some outside basketball.
Right.
It's okay.
Did you know that when you were drafted, or did that come over time?
My dad was from Southeast D.C., so I kind of knew what was going on already. It was perfect for me to be here because I'm a 4-hour drive from North Carolina. But I asked questions. I got around the right people. I asked them, what do I do? How do you do this? What do the fans want to see? They knew you could play basketball, but you got to interact with these people. And that's why you continue to get the love you
Give
get.
me your starting five right now with AJ. Give me the starting
I'm
five.
starting Trey Young, Keyshawn, AJ, AD, Sar.
I like it.
Yeah, if AD's gone, I move AJ to the 4. I move Keyshawn to the 3. I put Trey Johnson at the 2 because I want more spacing out there. I need catch and shoot guys out there with Trey Young.
I like it.
Trey and then Bilal become the first guys off the bench. What do you make of Will Riley?
Hey, Will Riley's my back. Hey, listen, I love Bub Carrington. He's my guy, but I've watched Will Riley for so long. He has to be your backup point guard, your backup 3 guard, because he can do so much. You might have to move Bilal to the backup 4 at times. But Will Riley has to have a lot of minutes. 6'9", 6'10", that could do everything.
The way
he showed you last
he
year.
has that little
He has the
wiggle.
herky-jerky New York type of style in this game.
But see, here's the thing, and we talked about it earlier, J-Dub. Defensively, the Wizards allowed 124 a game. They've got to effing stop that. I don't know how they're going to do it. I know that a lot of their good players weren't on the floor late in the season because they were just tanking. They can't allow 124 a game.
Well, the most important part is you can score the ball. You got to stop somebody.
You got to stop somebody, right?
John, thank you. What
Hey, real quick before he goes, I want to say thank you for because our boys are on the basketball staff at Howard.
Okay.
And I love that you're
I appreciate
involved,
it.
man.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Kenny
it's dope.
Blakeney, I played high school basketball with Kenny Blakeney, Rod Balanis. I think you're going to do great.
It's been
there.
amazing. Like I said, my ultimate goal one day is to be a GM of an NBA team. So for them
know,
to
this is
allow me,
perfect for you.
but to allow them to be
First
a president
step.
of basketball operations, understand the NIL, understand the money, the process of that, going into the portal, trying to help them get guys. It's been fun. It's been amazing. I'll be over there tomorrow watching them practice. So I got my duties to do.
Hey, a few years from now, we're going to be watching him in a war room on a draft night.
We are.
You just going to be seeing me picking and choosing.
Eventually, he's going to be there.
Thank you, John.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
John Wall of the Wizards, not only the last #1 before AJ Debonsa, but how about Jason? He was the guy that went to the lottery and secured the pick, bringing it back home.
I know.
Well done in full circle.
Good luck. It's a good luck charm.
Absolutely.
And he knows he's a good dude, too.
He's a good dude. Always loved John. I love the
And
way
he's got
John
about
embraces the city.
75 kids that want his autograph right now.
Oh, they're following him. He's got a crew.
All right, I
You're
don't even
listening
know.
to-
Did they take Caleb? They took Caleb. The Bulls
Yes.
take Caleb?
Yes.
They did.
Okay.
So chalk so far, 1 through 4.
All right.
Junkies draft special at the Anthem. It's Bedlam here. You're listening live. Odyssey DC's coverage of the Wizards taking AJ Debonsa 1-1.
2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Anise Debonsa Jr. from Brigham Young University.
Heard that audio of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver announcing the #1 overall pick coming here to Washington, D.C. I had never heard his name read out before just then. We all know him as A.J. Debonsa. He is your newest Washington Wizard. It's Cakes and JP from the Junkies. We're now joined by Grant Paulson from Grant and Danny, and welcoming him for the first time tonight, Linnell Willingham, very proud Magruder fighting colonel here on the set with us. Welcome, Linnell. I'm going to guess you weren't surprised by the A.J. Debonsa pick. He was the betting favorite. He's a superstar from BYU, just one season in college, led the nation in scoring, and now he is your newest Washington Wizard. There's a new superstar coming to D.C. The crowd is pumped. I'm expecting you are as well.
I mean, this is, to me, like the byproduct of the pick itself is great. He's awesome. Every time I think about tonight, it is hard for me not to look back at the past 3-4 years and the way that this front office and organization has handled themselves, man. I call it an ethical tank. People are upset. We haven't won a lot of games. Cap One Arena hasn't been a basketball environment. It's been the Mo Gala. But starting this fall, you know, all the people that we see here tonight, I walked in, Cakes, and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Just to see the energy and the excitement for this group, it's absolutely off the charts.
Were there this many Wizards fans at some games this year?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Like, I didn't know what to expect from the crowd tonight until we were doing the show today, and I was on the Wizards website, and they had their whole draft week events, and I saw that there were no more tickets left for tonight's event here.
Which is crazy.
At the Anthem, and I was like, oh, it's going to be like that tonight. And you could tell, like, this crowd, they were starved to be down here and be a part of this moment where, as you talked about the ethical tank and the 3+ years of misery and, mid-teens and wins, like, those days, the deconstruction is in the rearview mirror. Now it's all about continuing to build it with A.J. Debonsa, add him to the pieces they already have, the veterans they brought in Trae Young. Like, you're seeing the vision being put together in front of us.
Let me ask you guys this question, because I asked it of the guys before they left. If A.J. Debonsa's career turns into John Wall's, are you happy with it? In terms of like wins or like just the overall
If he's as good as a player as John Wall, is that good enough?
Yes. I'd be happy with that.
I think so.
I would say so, but I think
you obviously want more wins.
You want more wins. That's the
John
thing.
Wall only made it to the second round.
Exactly. So
made it to a Game 7 against Boston. But a lot of that has to do with roster construction,
Right.
and there are a lot of other factors there. John Wall had a damn good career.
He did.
He did have a really good career, but here's what we need. We need more parades, Grant. I know you love a parade.
Team parade.
Now, you love a parade where you go back to your hometown of Virginia and you're the Grand Marshal, but you also
Or
love,
if the team goes 500.
I think it's King George. I don't want to.
He's the king of King George.
I get to hold a goat at the parade.
There we
King
go.
George
You're
County.
a star.
But I want A.J. Debonsa to be the GOAT. See, that's the difference.
Yeah.
But here's where I'm at on this.
Yeah.
John Wall, superstar, beloved in this town for good reason. We just saw him signing autographs.
Yeah.
They had to start getting him out of here because it was getting unsafe. There were
Right.
people that wanted a piece of him, right? He was never an MVP candidate necessarily, perennially. He was not a first-team All-NBA. Unbelievable player. They didn't do enough around him. It just didn't work. With Debonsa, the hope is this becomes a top 10 player in the NBA.
Yeah. Right.
Like the comp is Tracy McGrady. Okay, that's Wall plus, right?
Yeah.
But I think to get there, it has really very little to do with him and everything else to do about situation, structure, and I just trust implicitly this front office in a way that I haven't trusted any that have been here. When you talk about Winger and Dawkins and Schlink, these guys know what they're doing.
Right.
They know what they're doing, and I felt like Debonsa was the pick all along because he just didn't have the red flags that Peterson had. And I know some people are like, the medicals are fine. People aren't worried about the creatine issue and him missing a bunch of games in Kansas, but I'm sure that was in the Wizards front office brain trust minds. Like, if this guy can't make it through a 30-plus game college season, or if he misses some of his high school games, how is he going to make it through the rigors of an 82-game NBA season? Like, if you're missing games at 18 or 19, what's going to happen when he's 26 or 27 and he's got all that NBA mileage on him? You know what I'm saying?
And that's why
this is a pick that the Wizards could not afford to mess up. And Debonsa, I feel like was the clear leader in the clubhouse all the way along. And I love that the Wizards weren't tipping their hand, and sources indicate the Wizards they had that pick on lockdown. You knew about it tonight when Adam Silver read it.
Do you guys agree with this? I have said for a few weeks, I think you can make the case that if everyone reaches their max ceiling, Peterson's might be a little higher than Devonta's maybe, but the floor for Devonta is so much higher.
Right.
It's like Devonta's floor is a 7, Peterson's is a 2. Devonta's ceiling's a 9.7, and Peterson's is a 10. And they took the safer superstar player.
Right.
There were 2 guys that could end up being superstars. One, if he doesn't end up being a superstar, he's just a really, really, really good player. Whereas the downside with Peterson is probably a lot worse than that.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it. I feel like it was clear cut throughout this entire process. They had to go with him. We were talking before we hopped on here, man. The one thing that not a lot of people have talked about, people in this market in particular, right, with Robert's parents, and now we have, Jaden Daniels' mom being super involved. The helicopter parent gets a bad rap. His dad, to me, is the singular reason why he is in this spot. You go back to the COVID year, he reclassified and stayed back a year. And when we were inside with masks on, he's outside on his blacktop, shooting jump shots with an outdoor ball. Like the give a darn level that he has, I think is through the roof.
I think it's through the roof, but let's not sleep on the fact that he's 6'9" and can jump.
Yeah, he can do it all. There's nothing he can't do.
I mean, let's be real. His dad's a great guy, but sure. AJ Devonta was blessed with something that none of us were blessed with.
Exactly.
Just a level of athleticism that not many people have. So when they did that NBA draft combine, his numbers were through the roof. Here's the thing I'd say, and I mostly agree with you, Grant. I've been a Peterson guy. It's the riskier play.
Yes.
Peterson could turn into Kobe Bryant. You hear some of these experts. Right. I respect Jay Billis and Seth Greenberg, these guys that are all over the college basketball game, and they say Darren Peterson's the most talented guy. What does that mean? But here's the risky play is Darren Peterson, a guy who shut it down in college, and who knows if it was because of creatine, whatever.
Right.
Does he turn into Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons was a guy who shut it down in college, made all-star teams. Some people thought he was going to be the next guy after LeBron James, and then all of a sudden he became like a head case. So the Wizards maybe, we don't know, maybe they just didn't want to risk that he could turn into something like that.
There's no guarantee that Devonta turns into an NBA superstar. I heard Kevin Sheehan, I think it was yesterday, he went through all the number 1 overall picks dating back to the year 2000, basically 25 years of number 1 picks. It was basically 14 hits and 12 misses.
This is probably a
pretty
top
close.
But if you stack Devonta up, though, against those 25 dudes, there's an argument to be made he's in the top 3 or 4.
Well,
he is that special of a talent.
You need to get this one right because this draft is better than all but 2 or 3 of those by everybody's account. I wonder, does he need to develop outside as a shooter to be a superstar?
Yes.
Or could his mid-range game be so special, the ability to dunk? Does he? What does he have to get to? Is it 35%, 38%?
What he instantly brings right away, the jump shot's going to be a developing thing throughout the entirety of his career, right? He has the gravity that nobody else on the Wizards has to be able to get downhill and force defenses to collapse and kick out the shooters. You look up and down this roster, they don't have another guy like that. They don't.
Were you guys in on? Oh, you guys weren't in on Wall. So Wall said something fascinating. He basically said with Trae Young, now that they just drafted AJ Devonta, he basically said he can't have the ball as much. And his idea is because of Devonta's ability to create for himself, Trae needs to be more willing to be a little bit more passive. This has been one of, I don't want to say a concern, but one of the things I don't love about the $212 million for Trae Young has been, if you're taking Devonta, I don't think you got to be ball dominant in year 1, but I want the basketball in his hands. And Wall basically said, Trae Young's got to realize, I don't need to have the ball in every single possession.
Yeah, and maybe Trae Young, maybe he's had that epiphany, like, look, I had a good run in Atlanta, it maxed out. Now I'm in a new spot where I don't have to be the guy that chucks up all the shots and is leading the offense every single night. I can lean on Anthony Davis as long as he's here. If he ever puts on a Wizards uniform, now I have questions about that. But he can dish to Devonta, Keyshawn George, all the pieces around him that they've. Alex Sarr, obviously, he doesn't have to be the guy that puts up 30 shots a night. And I think that's going to get through to him that he doesn't have to be that same guy.
None of us think they're going to be a championship team next year, right? Now, I went through some of the Eastern Conference rosters, and if you looked at the Raptors, who were the number 5 seed, or you looked at the Magic, who I believe were the 8 seed, you actually might like the Wizards roster better than those rosters. And the Magic won 45 games. I think the Raptors won 46 games. I think it's going to sort itself out, right?
Yeah.
They're looking down the road. See, on the Junkies, we talked about this today. I'm not convinced that Trae Young is part of their long-term vision. I know they gave him a ton of money. I don't fully understand the aprons and the salary cap. I think they're going to see how it works out. 3 years from now, my bet would be Trae Young's not part of their what they hope to be a championship contending team. That he's going to slide into a bench player and they're going to try and move him out of here because I don't really see him fitting. I might be wrong. Hopefully,
And there
we'll
aren't
be
a lot
proven wrong.
And there aren't a lot of guards at his size that get into their 30s that have a whole bunch of success as well. What I would say about him, though, he's a person. I think he has heard all of the noise surrounding him. This is a guy that's 25-10 for his career. So I wouldn't be so quick to talk about his demise. I think next year right away, he will be the leading scorer probably for
I
this
agree with that.
basketball team. They can't play Trae Young ball.
And he'll have games where he might hit 10 to 12 three-pointers, and he'll have a 45-point game. I don't know if he's ultimately a piece of a
He might
championship
not be, but
contending
speaking
team.
of leading scorers, what drew me to DeBonta later in the process was I consumed so many mock drafts. I thought I was just an NFL mock draft guy. I'm an NBA mock draft
Well,
guy.
you've always been a lottery guy.
Oh, I'm always
the
a
lottery generator.
lottery simulator guy.
Hopefully those days are done.
That's my bit. Yeah,
I read
we're not
hopefully
doing
it's
that.
done, right? Yeah.
But multiple pundits and guys who are running mocks when they're talking about DeBonta, we're talking about him being a multiple leading the league in scoring, not just leading the Wizards in scoring. Like they feel like his ceiling and upside is multiple time lead the league in scoring, and that made me think like, whoa, like this is potentially our LeBron James. Like it's that sort of level of player that hopefully the Wizards have acquired tonight with this pick.
Here's the other thing they acquired tonight, and this maybe matters a little less to people listening at home, but they just got a superstar type figure.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned his father, who's as famous as he is in some circles, Ace DeBonta, who's basically been the marketing arm behind him. If you've read about him in the post with Jesse Doherty stories, his character. But I bring this up to say he's got 1 million followers on social. Like the amount of people here tonight, the tickets I'm sure they're selling right now, that place has been dormant for years, just for myself.
His game is perfect because he's going to get so many alley-oop dunks. Okay, and the crowd is going to go nuts. What I'd say, though, look, I was a Darren Peterson guy. I think any of the top 3, maybe even top 4 picks will ultimately be studs in the league. Last year's draft was a Cooper Flag draft, right? But Dylan Harper is a nasty player. And, you know, this might be one of those drafts where it's kind of your preference, right? I could see, to me, I lean more on guards. I looked at the top 10 scorers in the NBA last year. 9 of them were guards. To me, DeBonta's more of a forward than a guard, but he can play the two.
Do it all.
So I like the guy that brings the ball up the court, like Luka Doncic, like Jalen Brunson. So I saw Darren Peterson as a point guard in the NBA who brings the ball up the court, initiates the offense, and can score like a Jalen Brunson. But they're going with DeBonta. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, they both might be studs.
And Grant, I really like your point about DeBonta's going to be a superstar in the building here in DC.
Right away.
How many times have all of us gone to Capital One and Steph Curry's in town and there's 10,000 kids wearing Steph jerseys? Or, you know, LeBron. You know, it's always 10,000 Celtics fans in there, you know, like drowning out Wizards fans. Now, hopefully, we start filtering out some of those opposing fan bases that come in because we've got a superstar here.
College basketball is so big right now as a sport. I said this on G&D earlier today. Jaden Daniels and Obi are the 2 guys pretty clearly entrenched on the Mount Rushmore. DeBonta's 3rd in the city tonight. I really believe that.
Totally.
I mean, he has something that other guys don't have, right? Like John Wall has it. You saw it, right? Bradley Beal never had it. Like Bradley Beal would have been here. A couple people would have asked for his autograph, but it wouldn't have been a mob.
You can give him all the money you want. He didn't have it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you want to go back old school Nationals, Bryce Harper had it. Anthony Rendon didn't. He can walk right by. There's just some guys who have, I'm too old to say Riz, but that just have that charisma, and DeBonta definitely has it. Peterson, not so much. Boozer looks like a nice guy. DeBonta walks around like he thinks and probably knows I'm the S.
When you put that type of work in there, you're going to have that type of confidence, man. He knows how much he has grinded to get to this point. It's all confidence with him.
He knows
he's earned.
He's a superstar.
Yeah.
he basically manifested being the number one pick. He said it through the process. He said, I've never not been the number one guy. I've always been the number one guy. And that was part, I was like, this guy's got confidence to spare.
The only thing
Look at how much media he did too. I've never seen a number one pick do all the media.
What a blitz by him.
The thing which also led me to prefer Darren Peterson, though, was, we had Jonathan Givney on the show, Draft Express. He said, saw him play 9 times against each other. And he said never once did he walk off the court thinking DeBonsa was a better player. That's one guy's opinion.
Right.
But there were a lot of people that had that opinion. This was not a universal thing. Cooper Flagg was universally known he was going to be the number one pick last year. As good as Dylan Harper has become and DJ Edgecombe and some of these guys, nobody was saying, hey, this guy might go number one. This time it was a legit question. When we were here at the Anthem, and they started showing the video, and he says the number one pick. Not everybody knew it was going to be A.J. DeBonsa.
Right.
Now, the crowd loved it.
Yeah.
They got themselves the star.
Well, I was going to say, I do think DC got the guy they wanted.
Yes.
For sure.
From the start of your guys' show, when they were showing the draft,
Yeah.
they did like a lengthy dance competition thing first.
Right.
But then they put the
Which
draft
I know
on.
you're into. You're big into that.
It was a good dance competition. Then they put the draft on the TV. Every time they showed DeBonsa,
Pop.
the room went nuts.
Absolutely.
They would show Peterson right after, and it was like you're at a game where the kids dancing and then the grown-up, where the crowd goes crazy. Everybody here seemed to want A.J. DeBonsa, and the pop was WWE face walking out before WrestleMania.
I can't help but instantly think about what they're going to do X's and O's wise in terms of who is the guy that has the ball in his hands right off the rip. I feel like as we go from game 1 to game 82, the style that they play is going to look a heck of a lot different.
It's going to be Trae Young in game 1 because they just
For
gave him
sure.
$212 million.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, he will be getting a lot of
And look,
run.
there's a lot that can change. We don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Davis. By the way, when Anthony Davis plays on the court, he's an unbelievable player.
Undeniable.
And he also brings the ball up.
Right.
If you ever watch Anthony Davis, he gets rebounds and brings it up because he was a point guard in high school and he fancies himself a playmaker.
Yep. All right, Grant and Linnell, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you
We
guys.
appreciate you guys tapping in. It's been a rotating cast of characters here down at the Anthem. We are going to tap out. We're going to pass the baton after this commercial break to Toby Altizer and Ben Strober. Their very capable hands are going to take you through.
Hey, are they the younger in charge? We got the youngest in charge, but I think those guys are even younger.
That is true.
Here's the key, fellas. It's the in charge part. It's the in charge part.
What is BTP? I've never understood what BTP stands for.
Biggest time player, beside the point, whatever you want it to be.
He's got a billion nicknames.
I've been trying to get this guy to change his social media for 5 years. It's based on a podcast he did when he was 19.
It's the dream, baby. The dream's alive.
We're tapping out when we come back. It'll be more of the Wizards draft party coming to you live from the Anthem. Ben Strober and Toby Altizer. They'll take you right up till 11 p.m. right here on the Fan.
class for a reason. Everybody knew with the likes of Cameron Boozer and AJ DeBonsa and Darren Peterson that this would be a special draft class. And indeed it was a great time for the Wizards to get the first overall pick. You only won 50 games over the last 3 seasons. Something's got to give. Something has to make it worth it. AJ DeBonsa is the perfect player to make that happen.
And just looking out here at the crowd, as you know, a lot of fans are still here mingling and enjoying the night. You're seeing different jerseys. I see someone wearing a Spencer Dinwiddie Wizards jersey.
Wow.
Those nights made it worth it for AJ DeBonsa.
Those were some tough nights, man.
And I understand that wasn't under this current front office, but the tough nights have made it worth it for you to get the number 1 overall pick. And I think, Strobes, too, it's momentous because we might not see an ethical tank like the Wizards just pulled off ever again. The way that the NBA has changed their tanking rules to try to eliminate that from the league. You know, I think the Wizards went about this the correct way. They played Alex Sarr as many minutes as he could handle. They played Bilal Coulibaly. They played Trey Johnson. They played Keyshawn George. Go through all the young guys that they were playing, and now you end up with the crown jewel of all of this. And AJ DeBonsa, the guy that you're going to be building around, you see fat heads being passed out to the crowd, people taking pictures with AJ DeBonsa. That's the face of your franchise. You've got Trae Young, you've got Anthony Davis, and we'll talk about their future a little bit more in a little bit. But with you, when you look at what they were able to accomplish with the young guys and getting the development, and now you bring in hopefully the best one out of all of them to lead this thing to the promised land, what a great night for Wizards fans.
It's monumentous in the way that Danny described it earlier, and Grant Danny, was a paradigm shift. And I think that's the perfect way to describe what has happened with this Wizards organization over the last couple of years, because if you were around for the days of Ernie Grunfeld for 20 seasons of misery, and then his successor was Tommy Shepard, a guy that worked under his tutelage the entire time, there wasn't much belief. There wasn't much hope. And the one thing about the NBA with the draft and with the lottery is that it sells a fan base hope. The one thing you have when you're a bad team in the NBA is the hope that you're able to land a player that can change everything, because there's 5 guys on the floor. And if you have one guy that means that much and has the pedigree that AJ DeBonsa has, it makes everything make a lot of sense. And now we're going to dive into all the different various ways you could view the fit of DeBonsa playing with Trae Young, who just inked a 4-year, $212 million extension. But when you're in a moment like this as a fan of this team, you got to look at everything from a 30,000-foot view and realize what the last 3 years were for and why you have an opportunity to make everything make sense right now. I'm especially excited for the fans that have stuck through it throughout this entire time. You're talking about fans of the team for over 4 decades that have seen literal trash.
Yes.
For 4 decades. The team has not won 50 games in 47 years. They haven't been to the conference finals since they were in the NBA finals in 1979. So if you want to talk about loyalty in a fan base that's starving not only to have another star talent, somebody that brings people into the building to watch this team, that makes people want to watch them on TV every single night, the Wizards fans deserve this more than anybody, because it's been 4 decades of misery for a lot of folks. And I know you and I are younger, so we can't necessarily relate in the same way, but when this basketball team is good, this town is simply different. The vibe around Wizards basketball during those prime John Wall years was incredible. And you see the lasting impact that Wall has had on this community. He was up here, just did a hit with the Junkies here on the Team 980. Everyone saw it on YouTube as well. And after that was over, he had a swarm of people come all the way over here. And I was like, he's never going to get out of here. He's going to have to sign autographs the entire night. That's what John Wall was, and that's what the Wizards hope AJ DeBonsa becomes. If you look back on this 20 years from now, he will be that guy, because when you pick first overall, you're expecting to change your franchise for the next decade plus. That's what the Wizards have an opportunity to do right here.
By the way, an elite jersey tonight, there was a John Wall high school jersey that he signed. So an elite jersey to have. Really cool to get it signed by John Wall. I want to tap into you as a fan real quick, Strobes, because one of the things that I love about our area is they love basketball. There's no question about it. Whenever anyone is talking about the best hotbeds for high school hoops in the country, if you don't mention the DMV first, you're an idiot. So this is a hotbed for hoops. It hasn't been a hotbed for professional hoops because, frankly, in my lifetime, this team has not been that good. I mean, the John Wall years were fun, and growing up a fan of the Wizards, he was my favorite athlete. My favorite team was always the Burgundy and Gold. I love the Nationals, but my favorite athlete, the guy that dominated so much of my thoughts as a kid, was John Wall, right? So you understand the impact that basketball can have. Watching tonight as hundreds, thousands of fans are here gathered at the Wizards draft party down here at the Anthem and the Wharf, hearing the excitement, the elation as A.J. Dybantsa was announced, I mean, I almost got a tear in my eye because I think me and you, at least at our age, Strobes, maybe frankly people that haven't been around since that last championship run back in the 70s, I don't know if we truly know what a sleeping giant the Wizards fan base can be because everyone around here loves hoops, but the Wizards haven't given them anything to love more than what they do with the WCAC or their local college team. I think A.J. Dybantsa, along with this young core, can give the DMV fans of basketball something to get behind for a professional team that they haven't had since the 1970s.
It's incredible when you talk about the talent that has come through this area, especially over the last 25 to 30 years. Players like Kevin Durant, who wouldn't even give the team a meeting before his free agency in 2016. And I don't know if that's a reflection of him not wanting to play in DC or him not wanting to play here because it's home and the pressure of it, or because of what the Wizards organization was. You hear these conversations in the noise that surrounds the team from the outside. You heard it for so many years. And even Anthony Davis, who spoke very glowingly of the organization on multiple occasions throughout this offseason, he said, hey, guys, this isn't what it seems like on the outside. When you get in here, there's nice facilities. They treat players with respect. And I knew when C.J. McCollum was traded ultimately for Trae Young back in January, who now is going to be here for the foreseeable future after his 4-year extension yesterday, the words he said about the organization and how well they treated him, you are becoming a destination. People will talk about your basketball team in a positive light, and that's not something we could say for a really long time. And yet there's still the naysayers that will come out of the woodwork and say the Wizards are a joke. AJ's career is already over at this point, but you get a player like AJ to change the noise that surrounds your franchise. And the people that have followed this team now for the last 3 years and seen how they've reconstructed everything from the ground up, because it wasn't just about deconstructing the roster and bringing in a new crop of players, getting off Bradley Beal's contract and ushering in a new era featuring young talent like Sarr, George, Trey Johnson, Bub Carrington. It wasn't even just about that. It was about building everything from the ground up. Because if you read that Sports Business Journal piece about the Wizards organization before Michael Winger and Will Dawkins came, they were at the Summer League and they were eating hot dogs.
Yeah.
Professional basketball players were eating hot dogs as their meal in between games. And Winger came in and said, hold on a second, guys, we need to be a serious organization here. So they've embodied being serious about everything, being intentful with your process, the way you watch film, the way you take care of yourself, the way you train every day. And I love to see it. Keyshawn George showing up to the facility at 5:45 in the morning to get extra work in. They have a bunch of guys that are built and cut from the right cloth. And I think AJ is just another one of those guys. That plays a big factor into the players that they draft here.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think the big thing, like you just mentioned, being able to change that culture so that when a guy like C.J. McCollum comes here, and we already knew what C.J. McCollum was here for. He wasn't going to stay the whole season. He's not a part of the long-term plans. But he comes here and talks glowingly about this organization and the way that it has changed. And now you see the youth wave and the development, because this is what gets me most excited about this, Strobes, being honest. You know, regardless of what you think about Brian Keefe, he is heralded as a great developer of talent. Correct. Think about the jump you saw rookie season to second season for Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. Maybe not as much with Bub Carrington, although you saw some ups and downs, but you did see some of the flashes there. So think about this. What's Trey Johnson going to look like in year 2? What's Will Riley going to look like in year 2? And just imagine what A.J. Dybantsa is going to look like as a rookie and then growing even further. You're adding so much young talent that looks like budding superstars in this league. It's not just, all right, that guy's a role player. That guy's, you know, he could help you and play 10 minutes a night. We're talking about guys that could be starters on playoff basketball teams and impact players that I think can be big-time stars around the NBA.
Right.
When you talk about the NBA, more so than any other of the 4 sports leagues here in the United States, it's built on personalities and individuals, almost more so than teams. You ask people, are you a Lakers fan? Are you a Cavs fan? Are you no, I'm a LeBron fan, right? Like, how many times? I think if this goes as they plan, people are going to be talking about, yeah, I really love A.J. Debonsa, and that's why I cheer for the Wizards. And you're going to see his jersey around, similar to now you see a Wemby, similar to how you see an Anthony Edwards, those kinds of guys. I think A.J.'s that kind of a player and that kind of a personality that Washington now gets to capitalize on. And in a fun time of Wizards basketball, you get a budding superstar on and off the court. I think it's going to be great for DC.
The dude's got 968,000 followers on Instagram. And not that that matters whatsoever, because A.J. Debonsa was drafted based on his basketball ability. He's an incredible talent, a remarkable prospect that is one of the best rim scorers we've seen as a freshman in college basketball in recent history. But when it comes to charisma and character with this guy, he is somebody that truly wants to be great. And he has always put a ton of pressure on himself, I think, for this moment to be the first overall pick, everything that he's been through. I like hearing some of the stories that I've heard about him back in COVID. He didn't really necessarily believe in himself. His dad would drive him from Brockton, Massachusetts, over an hour and a half away to go train during the pandemic. It's different because we're entering this new era where the COVID babies essentially are becoming the future superstar athletes, which is crazy to think about because you know how this impacted your life and impacted my life. But now you're at the point where guys who are coming up born in 2006 or 2007 as your first overall pick, we're getting that fresh taste of what Gen Z will be like as a superstar player. But AJ is built with the right type of character. I think he showed throughout this entire season and this pre-draft process that he believed in himself and he truly wanted to be the first overall pick. He wants the bright lights on him, and that matters because you're coming into a situation here in DC where you're going to be expected to be great. You're going to be expected to become a franchise-altering talent for this team, a player that they haven't had since the likes of John Wall, quite frank. And when it comes down to it, it's going to take 2 to 3 years before you really see this guy, he's 19, hit the peak of his powers. But you have to be ready for that moment. There's pressure that comes with it. I think he's the perfect guy that is ready to take that pressure, go head on with it, and work his ass off and get to where he needs to be.
100%. And I want to talk about AJ, the basketball player now, Strobes. I mean,
let's do it.
When you look at this Wizards basketball team and now how they're constructed, this is kind of the modern basketball team. When you think about what they have depth at, they don't necessarily have depth behind Alex Sarr and Anthony Davis. But the amount of guys they have that fit into that bucket of could play 1 through 4, essentially, A.J. Debonsa being the next one of those. You think about Keyshawn George, maybe not playing the 4, but he can play 1 through 3 pretty easily. Bilal Coulibaly, more of a defender, but can guard 1 through 4. Will Riley fits into that sort of mold as well. Justin Champagnie fits into that mold. I mean, think about how many guys they have so that they can do different things. They can run different types of lineups. And so when you think about A.J. Debonsa fitting in and being able to be used in a bunch of different ways, whether it's on the ball, I know a big question mark for a lot of people that were not in the Debonsa camp going into tonight. They're saying, well, you just signed Trae Young to this big deal. How are you going to work Trae Young on the ball, knowing that he needs the ball in his hands to be Trae Young, and still work with A.J. Debonsa, who needs the ball in his hands to be A.J. Debonsa? And I would say back to that, there are ways that you can figure out to make sure that both of them get the ample touches, but also part of the reason you had to see A.J. on the ball so much is he went to BYU. Richie Saunders went down halfway through the season, so he was the guy at BYU. Go back and watch the game in March Madness. There was no one else. It was all on number 3. And so that's why he had to play so on the ball. I think there are plenty of ways where if you're Brian Keefe, you can get A.J. Debonsa coming off a pin down, get in the ball in the corner. He can slash. He can cut. There are definitely ways that he needs to grow off the ball. But I think in terms of the way that the modern NBA game is played, where there's not really positions. We talk about the 1, the 2, the 3. That doesn't really exist as much anymore. It's either you're a big, you're a wing, you're a guard. And for so many of these guys, you need to be able to play 2 of those 3 positions. AJ can do that, and adding him into this mix, I think the Wizards and what they've built the last couple of years fits the modern NBA so well.
If you want to go and break down all of the things that he doesn't do as well as some of the other guys, no prospect is perfect because the other guys, you could say the same thing. Darren Peterson didn't do a very good job with his playmaking, and there's the anticipation maybe he becomes a lead guard at some point. I didn't necessarily see that in his freshman season at Kansas. Cameron Boozer, people debate the limitations maybe he has defensively. Will he be able to get his own shot the same way in the NBA? The one thing about AJ that intrigues me the most, why he's always been number 1 in my opinion, is this guy is a basketball player, and a basketball player can do more than one thing on the floor. Dybantsa's going to make his bread and butter with a basketball in his hand. Sure, he's a lethal driver of the basketball. He gets downhill. He puts pressure on the rim. He was a 99th percentile rim scorer in college basketball last season. But he is an incredible athlete. He's smart. He works hard. And he's going to learn the tricks of the trade here in the NBA, because when it comes down to it, nobody comes in as a perfect prospect. It's about learning and taking things in at the end of the day and improving how you are as a basketball player and not just a guy that can score. So if you have a situation where you say, I don't like Dybantsa as much because he doesn't score as much off the basketball, this is something he's going to have to improve upon in his game. You're not bringing a player in here and not expecting him to get better. The reason you draft somebody first overall is because you truly believe in his upside, what he's going to be 5 years from now. So if you see Dybantsa learning how to play more off the ball, get the three-point percentage up on the catch-and-shoot opportunities, because he shot 30% on catch-and-shoot threes in his freshman season. It's not a great look, but it's something that can be improved upon. I think there's some minor tweaks maybe he can make with his jump shot mechanics. But at the end of the day, you're drafting a player based on the upside and what you think he's going to be in the future. And Dybantsa has the perfect makeup of a player with his athleticism, his physical traits, and everything else in between. He's going to be a really good player in this league. And that's not to say that Darren Peterson and Cameron Boozer won't as well. I think all of these guys have all NBA upside.
One of the things that I love about AJ is you're getting a guy that we know can fill it up. 25.5 points a game in his freshman season at BYU. But what I love is everything depended on him, Strobes, and he shot 51% from the field. So I know for a fact that when A.J. Dybantsa steps on the floor wearing the Wizards uniform, he's going to be able to get to the bucket. We can talk about his three-point shooting ability and some of the tweaks that he needs to make to be able to be a more efficient shooter from the outside. But even then, Strobes, he shot 33% from three-point land. It's not as if he was just a horrendous three-point shooter. This is a guy, and I don't know where this narrative came down. I think partially because of how good the top of this draft is. People almost want to say, well, there's not a standout guy like Wemby. And I understand that. I get that. He's not Victor Wembanyama. But I think this top of the draft class stacks up with what Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper looked like last year. It just so happens that there's 4, 5, maybe 6 guys that are up at the top. And so you go, well, AJ. No. AJ, if he hits his peak, is a top 10, top 5 player in this league. And that's what's so exciting about this for Wizards fans. And even if you wanted Darren Peterson, I think you could say a lot of the same things about him. But AJ, I think to me, and part of the reason why I was AJ throughout the entire process, going back to when Darren Peterson was the thought to be number 1 overall pick back in the middle of the college basketball season, part of what enamored me with A.J. Dybantsa is how much was on his shoulders and his versatility as a basketball player. You get a guy at his size at 6'9" to be able to move the way that he does, play on the ball. Like we said, he's got to work off the ball some. He's got to work on his defense. We'll talk about that as well. Like, there are things that he has to improve on, but projecting along with a 6'9" guy with the ability that he already has, I just think that is something that it's hard to pass up adding into your franchise. And I'm so excited to see the way that they develop him because there's so much to work with there.
And the one last point that I want to make on him in his game in his freshman year, when Richie Saunders went down with a torn ACL, that's where you saw him really come to life, take over, first of all, that BYU team. But not only that, he got better at everything that we felt like he needed to get better at through the season. He showed real growth as a player in his freshman year. You saw the assists go up to 5 per game in the final 10 games that they played. That continued in the NCAA tournament, had a lot on his shoulders, had a couple of turnovers in that game, some of them late. But as Sean Miller said, the Texas head coach, we don't have an answer for this guy. And they were throwing doubles his way. They were stacking up the box, putting everybody in the paint. Dybantsa has built his real estate at the free throw line. And for somebody his age, that is insanely impressive. And it's not even like he's part of these theatric up and down, flailing his body type of ways to get to the free throw line. He gets to the line because of his physicality and how often he goes with intent driving to the basket, trying to get downhill. I think that really means a lot, and that projects him to get to the free throw line a ton in his NBA career and score at the rim a ton.
301-230-0980 is the phone number if you'd like to hop in. It is the NBA Draft Show as Tobes and Strobes are with you to react on the Wizards taking A.J. Dybantsa with the number 1 overall pick. We want to hear from you, Wizards fans, and we'll give you more reaction. We'll break down his fit for this team and what we expect from this team next season. You're listening to the NBA Draft Show on the Team 980.
It ain't okay.
It's the NBA Draft Show. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober, Tobes and Strobes with you as the Wizards draft A.J. Dybantsa, number 1 overall. It's the first time the Wizards have made a number 1 overall selection since they took John Wall. So it's a big night for the Wizards. We're reacting with you guys on the Team 980. 301-230-0980 if you'd like to hop in. We'll get to some of your phone calls in just a couple of moments. Just looking through some of the notes on A.J. Dybantsa. How about the third most points ever scored by a freshman in D1 history at 894, averaged 25.5 a game, where most of the season it was BYU's success was dependent on him, and just watching him throughout the season, he was so impressive. But throughout the process, Strobes, and I thought John Wall was on the stage at the Wizards draft parties. We're out here at the Anthem in the Wharf. And beforehand, he said, look, I don't think you can go wrong taking either one of these guys, talking about Dybantsa, talking about Darren Peterson. And I felt the same way about that, but I preferred A.J. Dybantsa. Throughout the process, when we had talked, you also preferred Dybantsa. What was your reasoning?
The reason I wanted Dybantsa, I think because of positional flexibility. We understand how important that has been for Washington, this front office, Will Dawkins. The one thing that they have really liked to draft is players that can play kind of in this positionless era of basketball that you and I have talked about. And obviously the scoring ability is incredible. Having a guy that can score and fill it up the way that Dybantsa did in his freshman season is instantly going to make you a better team offensively. But the creativity that you can have as well and what you're able to do with your lineup, and also kind of molding this roster around what you have in Trae Young. So after they sign him to a 4-year, $212 million deal yesterday, the number one question is, how are they going to build an infrastructure defensively around Young that's able to mask that deficiency? That is because you're not giving away state secrets to say that Trae Young is not a good defender at this point. That's not why you brought him here. You brought him here as a floor raiser, somebody that's going to make your young players better. Now, at the end of the day, as you're trying to win more games, which we know they're going to do next year, and they're trying to build their status up until they can graduate to a contender, to a champion, you got to build an infrastructure defensively that makes sense. And now that you have all these guys on this team that are around 6'7" or taller, they have the long wingspan, they have a ton of reach, you're able to kind of mold things defensively in the way that makes the most sense. You have Alex Sarr, who led the league in blocks for a lot of the season. Ultimately, Wemby ends up leading the league in blocks, and Sarr missed enough time where he wouldn't be qualifying. But for a good portion of the season, Alex Sarr leading the league in blocks. Anthony Davis, probably not here for long, but you're getting a 10-time All-Star player that's been one of the best two-way players of all time, if we're being quite frank, especially in this generation. You combine that with Keyshawn George and Bilal Coulibaly and other stoppers that you can add on the wing. Jameer Watkins, who they took in the second round last year. You need a really long lineup, so you're able to kind of mask the deficiency that you have defensively with Trae Young. And Darren Peterson is a very plus defender. I'm not trying to discredit him, because at 6'6" and a 6'10" wingspan, Darren Peterson is the better on-ball perimeter defender than A.J. Dybantsa at this point. But when you look at upside as a scorer and ability to get to the rim, that's where Dybantsa takes the cake for me.
Yeah, one of the things I love is doing the media tour that Dybantsa has done, because there's no question the most vocal of the NBA draft process, prospects going through this draft process, has been A.J. Dybantsa. There's no question about it. You see different clips of him saying, hey, I fill seats and different things. I will say, though, one thing that impressed me about him was his honesty in saying, you know what, I got to be better on off-ball defense. I got to be better when I'm helping out my other defenders and make sure. Right. You know, sometimes we get this idea when you're playing defense, like, I just can't let my guys score. No. You just don't want them to score, period, the other team. And so AJ's got to work on that. He understands that, and I think he's going to come in with the right mentality to work with these guys. One thing we're keeping an eye on, though, Strobes, as we're nearing the midway point of the first round of the NBA draft. I want to get to your phone calls in just a moment, but the Wizards were rumored to be interested in trying to go after another lottery pick and trying to add something that they can get another young guy to add to this core. Do you think that the Wizards could be making some calls that maybe they could be back on the clock here soon? And who do you think they could be targeting if that is the case?
If I were them, I'd be very interested in trading back into the range, practically they're in right now. Charlotte on the clock at 14, somewhere in the range of here 14 to 25, and trying to get one of these available bigs that you have. Hans Steinbach is currently listed as the number one available player, according to ESPN right now. I love the versatility that he provided in his freshman season at Washington. One of the things, though, that you have to think about if you're the Wizards, and what I've talked about a lot throughout this pre-draft process, is finding the succession plan for Anthony Davis. Because if he is indeed utilized as an asset here, let's say he plays half a season or he plays a full season, maybe they recoup his value a little bit and they're able to move him for some draft capital or whatever they feel like is a necessary piece that they'll need going forward. You got to find what your long-term solution is at the 4, because I think the reason that the Wizards struggled so much defensively, obviously part of it was intentional over the last couple seasons, was because they never really had this double big lineup that we're going to see next year with AD and Sarr. And Alex Sarr is a terrific rim protector. He has switchability. He's athletic. He can get out on the perimeter and help guard some of these quicker guards that he might have to switch on to at times, which is why they really liked him. But when it comes down to it, Alex Sarr at about 220 pounds, I believe, is what he was last year. He's probably going to weigh a little bit more next year, depending on how his recovery process goes after the foot surgery he got. You need someone beefier on the interior to help out with a guy like Sarr, because if you're asking him to go one-on-one every single possession with a guy who's big and physical like Karl Anthony Towns, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like Bam Adebayo, who scored 83 points on this team, for God's sake. That's one of the biggest faults they had defensively. Teams were living in the paint, living at the rim. That has to be different, especially when you have a negative defender at your point guard position. So if you're trying to find the long-term succession plan for Washington, I'd be very interested in some of these front court options that still remain available. There's a reason people think this draft is so deep that some of these guys that are going to drop down into the 20s of this draft could potentially be top 15 talents in any other draft. Like you and I were talking about when Darius Acuff went 7 to Sacramento. You're like, geez, Darius Acuff went 7th? What a draft, man. That's what we're looking at in terms of talent. So if Washington were going to get aggressive like they have in the last 3 years with this front office, I would hope it's to go get somebody to pair alongside Sarr for the foreseeable future.
301-230-0980 if you'd like to hop in to talk to Tobes and Strobes on the NBA Draft Show. Let's get out to Reggie. Reggie, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I just left from down there, man. The energy, you almost feel like, man, that AJ could be like Jaden. Just the energy, man, that building had, like that we had. Now, Darren Peterson, remember I think he said he was like introvert, and I forgot whatever like the description that he used. But AJ, man, seems like he just got that it factor. And listen, he was at BYU and led the nation in scoring at BYU. So I think a lot of people, just over the course of like this draft cycle was just kind of hyping up both. But I think that when you factored everything in, I think AJ was clear because you just had too many questions about Peterson to really consider him as a number. If he played the entire season, then again, we probably could have had a discussion. But just with so many red flags, truthfully, I don't even think it was really a discussion between the two. But the energy down in the building was, it was almost like we was in the playoffs, you know what I mean? But I just think, man, that he could really like take over the city. It's gonna take a couple of years. I think next year will be kind of a filling out period. But, like all rookies, you're not going to have a Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, because especially with Cooper Flagg, because he's not going to be asked to do like Cooper, because you're just going to have too many people around. But, man, right now, okay, Keith, you're on the clock. AD not going anywhere. We probably will keep him until the trade deadline. I'm assuming we'll talk to him and he can stay to see how it goes, and then we can make a decision. But now, okay, today is the day that we start to say, okay, Wizards, like playoff or bust, where you just blow everything up with the coaching staff and get, Billy Donovan or somebody with some experience. Because now with some more excuses. We got talent now. No more
Reggie,
excuses.
appreciate the phone
energy
call.
Down there. Yep, thank you, guys.
Yeah, and the energy down here has been fantastic, Strobes, and I thought it was interesting. At the beginning of the call, we mentioned it felt like a little bit like Jaden, where he breathed life into the Commanders fan base that had frankly been gone for quite some time. Obviously, some of that was ownership and everything, but the life that was breathed into that fan base, the second number 5 step on the field, the way that he played the game, it was obvious. I do think that you could have DeBonsa having that sort of an impact. Is he going to take them to the conference finals right away? Maybe not. But I don't see why this team should have some expectations next year. It's not necessarily saying that they're going to win an NBA championship right away, but we're not trying to go through another tank where they win 20 games. We're trying to see this team be a little bit better. But just thinking alongside that, Strobes, how fun of a time is it to be a DC sports fan where maybe none of the teams outside of maybe the Commanders or the Capitals in a lesser way are considered true championship contenders, but they're all upward trends with bright stars. I mean, AJ DeBonsa is leading the group with Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George and these guys for the Wizards. Jaden Daniels with the Commanders. We just had James Wood in studio earlier today. He was on with Chris Russell on 980, on with Grant and Danny on 106.7 The Fan. CJ Abrams. You've got some young stars with the Capitals as well. It's a good time to be a DC sports fan, and I think AJ and having basketball have some of that renewed energy is just going to add even more to the other sports as well.
Right, it's going to keep on beating down this point about young talent and what it does for a team, what it does for a fan base. It's everything. And for the Wizards, you're trying to find your sun in the solar system. Everything revolves around this guy. And I don't know if you got a chance to see Michael Winger, the president of Monumental Basketball, sit down with JP Finley a couple days ago. But the one thing that I took away from the conversation, and maybe we can find cuts of that later, there's going to be different expectations for this team, but also in a different way. You acquire Trae Young and Anthony Davis because you're expected to win more basketball games. That's perfectly understandable. You've won 50 games over the last 3 seasons. So these young guys have to learn how to win at some point. But this is really where they start to evaluate everything that is happening within this Wizards team. And you find out who really can win you games. Because we talk a lot about the young talent. I think as a fan base, it's easy to overrate your young talent away because they can have some really good nights, especially in the month of March when the NBA basketball just hasn't been quite the same. And I know the new lottery reforms are hoping to change some of that stuff. But the Wizards' young core of players have not necessarily been asked to go out there and win every single night. They've gone out there with the intention of developing. They've given them the keys to say, hey, go out there. You can make a mistake. You can make another mistake. Oh, you made 3 mistakes? Go ahead. Go make a 4th. It is okay at this point. But what Winger said, they're not going to tolerate those type of mistakes anymore. And at the end of the day, you're going to really find out who can drive winning on this team. Because I like to think about OKC a little bit in the process that they took when they bottomed out for a couple seasons. They acquired in the Paul George trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, of course, is the back-to-back MVP of the league now. Once they got to a point where they won 40 games and they kind of saw, okay, we have an understanding that this guy SGA is the real deal. He can win us some basketball games. What do we really need on this team to take us to the next step? And that ended up being them trading away Josh Giddey to Chicago. They pick up Alex Caruso, who was the perfect 3-and-D player to complement them. You could see the Wizards making that type of move potentially next summer or the summer after that. The bottom line is you need to find out who on this team can really win you basketball games. Who can you build around AJ DeBonsa and Trae Young on this team? And I think we're going to get a lot of answers to those questions this season, which I think is the most fascinating part of the entire thing. You're going to find out who can actually win you games and get you to where you need to be in a couple of years.
That's Ben Strober. I'm Toby Altizer. We're here from the Anthem as the draft party is just winding down, but we're still talking with you guys. You want to hop in? 301-230-0980. It's the Wizards Draft Show, celebrating a night in which A.J. DeBonsa is the number 1 overall pick, and he is coming to the Washington Wizards. More from Tobes and Strobes next on the Team 980. Welcome back. It is the NBA Draft Show. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober, Tobes and Strobes with you live from the Anthem as wrapping up the draft party, but about halfway through the first round of the NBA Draft. But the night started with an excited full crowd here at the Anthem as A.J. Dybantsa was the number 1 overall pick, Strobes. The energy was great. It was great to see Wizards fans energized, excited about this team. And frankly, I mean, you were at just about every home game this past season.
Right.
Even though everyone saw the vision, it wasn't always a must-see thing to go to Capital One Arena to watch this Wizards team. I think that's going to change next season.
Absolutely. A.J. Dybantsa is box office. He's everything you would want, especially if you're an organization that's looking to get out of the red. If you're looking at the spreadsheets for what the Wizards have been over the last couple of seasons, I'm sure they don't look great for Ted Leonsis and crew, but there was an understanding that this was something that had to happen, and they had to allow the patience for it to finally materialize. And now you have a guy that you feel like can be everything that makes sense for you in A.J. Dybantsa. And when you're building around a player like this, in a way, I feel like you do it a bit delicately. And I think that's one of the things we can debate is what the development process looks like for A.J. But I think he's coming into a very good situation. In Washington. I know for so many years everyone would say his career's over, he's going to the Wizards. That's where everybody goes to die. But no, for Dybantsa, he's entering a situation with a 4-time All-Star point guard in Trae Young, a 10-time All-Star, an NBA 75 great in Anthony Davis, who's on the team, budding other young players that have developed their game, and hopefully some of them future star players, and a coaching staff that's primarily focused on development. And it makes the Keefe retainment maybe make a little bit more sense because AJ is a incredible talent, incredible prospect, but there are slight areas that need refinements in his game. And we understand that. That's going to be the case with almost anybody that you draft. Keefe has made his money in the NBA being around the block as an assistant for so long because of what he's been able to do in terms of development. I'm glad you hit on it earlier. Guys like Sarr, who had an incredible jump in year number 2. Keyshawn George, a massive jump in year number 2. You're banking on Keefe being the reason he's able to develop his game and get to what the full power of A.J. Dybantsa should be. Because when it comes down to development and everything that you're trying to have happen here in D.C., we've seen some of the proof in the pudding that it is possible through the organization, building correct habits when it comes to your process. That's a word that Brian Keefe said in almost every single pregame press conference, postgame press conference, whatever it may be. He consistently talked about process. And I asked him, what does process mean, you guys? And he said it's the day-to-day life of an NBA player that wants to be great. It's not just about showing up and playing the games and being a great athlete. It's about showing up early in the morning and watching film every day, watching film with intent. You're not just sitting there watching it, but you're actually learning and you're processing. You're finding out the areas that you need to grow, need to improve. You're getting in the gym for your extra shots every single day, working on the areas of your game that are weakness. They've installed that level of culture, that level of habit building here in D.C. And I know a lot of people have been questioning the way they've played over the last couple of years because they've allowed players to make mistakes at a high rate during the first couple of years of their career, saying they're building bad habits. I don't necessarily fully agree with that. I can understand the point people are making when it comes down to it, but they say you're not supposed to make the same mistake twice. In the NBA, you're going to make the same mistake twice. You're going to make it 3 times. You're going to make it 4 times. And when you're young players typically are not very good NBA players. It's pretty rare to see like Victor Wembanyama, who took a team to the NBA Finals at 22 years old. But Victor Wembanyama is not a normal player. He's not a normal prospect. I think when you're looking at the development path that AJ is going to take, it's going to be a process that builds him up into eventually becoming the franchise cornerstone, the face of the entire franchise. But it's a great situation to come into because the pressure is not going to be directly on him to be great day one.
So you brought up a point there that I want to hit on because this is something that I think is going to be telling about what this team can be going forward is, and part of the reason why I am on board with Trae Young sticking around, part of the reason I am on board with, we'll see what happens with the Anthony Davis situation overall, but I like having him around. It is difficult when you've got so many young guys that the guys that have been here now, frankly, as good as it is to have their development, what we were talking about, Strobes, they haven't played winning basketball. They've played basketball. They've played NBA basketball. They haven't played winning basketball yet. And so There is a different – I mean, we just watched an NBA Finals, Strobes, where –
high-level stuff.
You would say that the Spurs overall, like Wemby was kind of crushed after the series saying we were probably the better team. I don't know that he's wrong. I don't necessarily love the statement there, but I don't think he's wrong. They had no idea how to finish. There's a skill of winning when it comes to professional basketball. And so the Wizards, while they have grown their skills for Alex Sarr on the defensive end, you saw a massive jump on his offensive game this year. Keyshawn, much more comfortable with his offensive game. Have they developed that skill of winning yet? No. Obviously, it was part of the plan, so I don't blame them whatsoever. But I don't think it's as simple as, all right, this is like 2K, plug this guy in here, and all of a sudden we've got another guy. We're just going to flip the switch and start winning basketball games. I think there is more to it. Right. So I think having some veterans like a Trae Young, who is going to have the ball in his hands, and I think this is a massive part of it. In 2 or 3 years, when there's a last-second play that needs to be made, who do you want the ball in the hands of? AJ DeBonsa. But does that have to happen off the jump? No. Could he grow into that as a rookie? Potentially, but you don't have to force him into that sort of a role. So having a guy like a Trae Young, I think, is very, very useful in that sort of scenario. And same thing for an Anthony Davis, having someone along those lines. Less so with Anthony Davis because we don't know how long he's going to be here, and that future is a little more tenuous. But I think having some of that experience, that veteran leadership, is so important for a young basketball team because it's just not as simple as some people like to think that it's, okay, now we're done tanking. The rebuild and the deconstruction phase is done. Now we're ascending. It's not as simple as, okay, now we flip the switch and we win 45 games. That's not that simple. So I like having some of that veteran leadership to be a part of this team, and especially a guy like Trae Young, regardless of how much money he made, he's going to at least be here for the next couple of years to help foster these guys to that next level and play winning basketball.
Right. And we saw some of those growing pains last year for this Wizards team, believe it or not. I know they only won 17, but there were probably 5 to 7 games pretty early on in the season where they were in the driver's seat to get a win. I think back to the 4th game of the season against Philadelphia. They had a pretty substantial lead at halftime. They ended up falling apart late in the game in the 4th quarter, then overtime. A game against Detroit where they were on the road, where they were up by 3 with a second left. They gave up a buzzer beater 3 to go to overtime. They ended up losing that game in overtime. And you could say at the end of the day, maybe it was better in the end that they ended up losing some of those games. But also, they were learning experiences for this team because the progress isn't going to be linear for Washington. It's not going to be linear for young players. And there's something to be said learning how to actually win in this league. It's very difficult to do. And that's why teams that are insanely young don't typically win the NBA Finals. OKC is kind of the outlier in this example. They were probably I think they were the youngest team to ever win the NBA Finals when they did it last year, but different crop of players. You have the MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, on your team. That's the level of player that you need to get you to the top. And when you take a player like DeBonsa, you have belief that he can mold himself into a top 10, into a top 5 player in the league at one point because of his offensive upside. He's going to have areas where he's going to grow his game. He's going to have to get better at certain things like the off-ball defense, like the three-point shooting. But this is the situation that you want him in. You want him to have time to develop his game. So when the moment is ready and they feel like they're ready to graduate to a contender, to eventual champion, that he'll be ready for that moment.
So I want to ask you about that because I mentioned earlier that I think he can be a top 10, maybe even a top 5 player if he hits his peak. And like you mentioned, part of the reason you keep a Brian Keefe, he's got an experience as an NBA head coach, not great experience in terms of being able to lead a team to a championship. But what he is fantastic at and has plenty of pelts on the wall of being able to do is develop young talents. You've seen it here with the Wizards. We mentioned Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, and I'm excited to see, Will Riley even as the season went on got better. Trey Johnson, those sorts of guys. I'm excited to see how they develop. But let's dream a little here, Strobes. Assuming you can hit those markers, Dan Quinn would say, hit those markers along the way.
Train to go.
Exactly. As long as if you can get this guy, talking about AJ DeBonsa, to the highest level and his peaks, what does that look like?
I think you're looking at a top 10 player in the league and the best scorer overall in the entire NBA. Because if you think of a guy that can live at the rim, at the free throw line, I know a lot of people hate the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays because of the flopping, because of some of the showmanship that he has when it comes to getting the free throw line. It matters. He's generating his team an extra 15 to 20 points per game by doing that. And DeBonsa doesn't necessarily need the theatrics to get to the line. That's not what his game was.
Well, and by the way, when SGA just plays ball, it's one of the most beautiful games to watch.
He's insanely good. And I feel like this past year in the postseason, we saw the game moving a little bit away from this idea that everybody needs to be dominant from behind the line, that you're doing the Boston Celtics in 2024. You're shooting 55 to 63s per game. You saw teams find success because they were able to do things in the mid-range. That's where DeBonsa has made his money. And it's interesting to me because a lot of people say, well, how come when he shoots from the outside, he shoots from three and a catch and shoot? Why is he not as efficient as he is at the mid-range? He made over 50% of his mid-range shots in college basketball, the best mark in NCAA. But the thing is, he's a guy that when he rises up in his jumper at the apex at 6'9", that he's going to play in shoes next year, it's pretty much an unblockable shot because he is above everybody when he releases the ball at the point of the apex, and that's what makes him deadly. But the shot comes at a little bit more of a flat ball arc when you're shooting like that. So that's maybe why you see some of the flat ball mechanics on the shot from the outside. But I believe he truly does have top 10 scorer in the league upside and potential because of his ability to get downhill. He's got incredible footwork for a guy at his size who can handle the basketball pretty well, a little bit loose at times, but somebody that attacks the basket tenaciously, that has the willingness to get in the paint. I don't want somebody that's afraid of the paint, that's afraid of the rim, that's afraid of contact. He is none of those things, and I think he's going to be a tremendous scorer in the league.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, if you just watch this guy play at BYU, it was constantly getting to the rim with the basketball, and he just has such a great ability, an innate ability that, to me, you can work on shooting. As long as the jumper's not broke, which it's not, and I can assure you that, then, it'll be all right. But I think it's one of those things, too, that his ability to just get downhill at the college level, I think you're going to see him be able to do that at the next level, too, at the NBA level. And I think he's going to be a fantastic scorer. And I think he'll be someone that there's going to be some growing pains, as there is for anybody. But I think that's the fun of this, is you can dream a little bit about A.J. Debonsa, and it's not, okay, they got a good player. Okay, they got somebody that can help them. You got a legitimate franchise-altering player with the number 1 overall pick tonight, and I think that's why so many Wizards fans are excited. So many Wizards fans wanted A.J. Debonsa. You could tell that just by the reaction here at the anthem, and they were granted their wish as A.J. Debonsa is the number 1 overall pick for the Washington Wizards. All right, we'll continue talking with you guys. If you want to hop in, 301-230-0980. The Team 980 listener lines are up. If you'd like to chime in, again, 301-230-0980. Tobes and Strobes with you here on the Team 980.
I think it's great. Like I said, you know what I mean? I want to see. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. You know what I mean? Bringing Trae Young back. AJ needs the ball in his hands, but I think they can make it work. But it's going to take some time. But I think you got to see what you have with all those young guys and see how they can develop. But the most important part is you see the fans' reaction. That's all you care for. That's what you want.
Yeah. Right.
Because when you get the opportunity to get the guy you want, sometimes you don't get the number one pick. You might have number 5, and you got to pray he falls. When you're the first on the board, it's the easiest thing to do.
Final hour of the Wizards Draft Show. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober, live from the Anthem at the Wharf as the draft show party has kind of chilled down a little bit, but it's been a blast being here all night and the excitement around 8 o'clock as the Wizards made A.J. Dybantsa the number 1 overall pick. And 2 things off of that. I want to talk about what John Wall mentioned there. He joined the Junkies and Grant a little bit earlier tonight. And I think you can check that out, podcasted, or I'm sure that'll be played tomorrow at some point on one of the stations. So make sure you check that out if you missed that earlier tonight on the draft coverage. But one of the things that he mentioned there that I want to get back to is working with Trae Young and A.J. Dybantsa. So we'll get to that in just a second. But the other thing that I love that he brought up, and it was the discussion that we'd had on and off the last couple of weeks, Strobes, is this idea along the way that the Wizards could trade down a pick with Utah. And if Darren Peterson was at the top of their board and they could trade down, and, you know, people are dreaming on the idea that Ace Bailey wanted to come here last year, so maybe you could trade down and somehow get Ace Bailey and Darren Peterson in the process. But what John Wall mentioned there is such a beautiful point. Yeah, the number 1 overall pick. I hated the idea that the Wizards won the draft lottery and immediately everybody's like, you think they should trade it? No, you shouldn't trade it. You won the number 1 overall pick. You get to choose who you want because that's the privilege you get when you're picking first overall, and they didn't mess around with it. They took the guy that they wanted, and the reason you know they wanted him is because they had the first overall selection and took that guy.
They said it best the next morning. Will Dawkins, the general manager of the Wizards, was on the Sports Junkies, and they asked him, what's the best thing about having the number 1 overall pick? What makes you the most excited about having this number 1 overall pick? He said, we have the power of choice. We haven't had that in previous years. My goodness, how important is it to be able to pick who you think the best available player is in this draft? And by God, that is A.J. Dybantsa. The pick was in. I think it was a difficult decision at the end of the day because of how talented this draft class is. But when you do your due diligence, you do your research, you get to pick who you think is the best available player. In another draft, like for instance, last year, they're picking 6th overall. You're doing research on so many guys and you don't know who's going to be there. You could totally fall in love with a certain player who gets snatched up before he gets there to you, or somebody else that you may have loved a little bit more falls your direction. But when you're picking 1st overall, you have to nail the pick because you get to choose exactly who you think will be the best player for your team. Who do you think will be the best of all of these guys going forward in this stacked, loaded draft class that we've talked about so much here in 2026. So the Wizards, they did what was necessary through the front office, all of the due diligence, bringing everybody in for meetings, having these guys work out, going through everything, contacting all of their previous coaches, trying to find out all of the little information you could find out about these players. And all roads at the end of the day led back to a guy who's been number 1 pretty much his entire life in A.J. Dybantsa. This seems like it was meant to be for this Wizards team, and I know they are thrilled to have him hopefully mold him into a cornerstone, somebody that can change the fortune of this franchise forever, because this fan base, not only have they been starving for a superstar that can take them to the next level, the team, for goodness sakes, has been starving for a star player that can win you basketball games that are meaningful, that can win you playoff games, and can realistically make you compete for an NBA championship. It's been a long time coming.
One of the other things that John Wall mentioned in that clip was playing alongside Trae Young with A.J. Dybantsa. Those 2 guys are on-ball players. They want to have the basketball in their hands, and there's only one ball, Strobes. There's only one ball.
It's only one ball.
When you're out there playing and you've got multiple guys that like to play on the ball, how do you make sure that each of those guys is going to get their appropriate amount of work, to make sure that they're able to get their appropriate usage? Because you don't want to have Trae Young having the basketball in his hands and it stunts the growth of A.J. Dybantsa, which I don't think is going to happen, but that is something that's a little bit of a worry. I think there are ways to do it, but I'm curious, Strobes, to you first, how do you make this work where AJ needs the ball in his hands to be AJ DeBonsa. We talked about earlier that we want to see him improve as an off-ball player on the offense and defensive side of the floor. But on the offensive side of the floor, he didn't do a lot of stuff off the ball at BYU because there was no reason for him to. They didn't have guys that should be playing on the ball over him. So he was a lot on the ball at BYU. Of course, in high school and those sorts of things, he's going to be the best player on his team as well, so he's going to play on the ball. So there's going to be some growth that needs to be had playing off the ball. But how do you think that they can make sure that he's getting his appropriate touches, Trae Young is able to have the ball in his hands so that he can do his job as well? How do they marry those two things?
The way that Michael Winger described it with Trae Young and why he was the top free agent on their board or would have been free agent. Free agency is just not the same in the NBA, and that's why they went through the trade avenue to get him and then eventually sign him to this long-term contract, is that he is an offensive engine, and he makes everything make sense within an offense. And if you've watched this Wizards basketball team over the last 3 years here where they've kind of experimented with different things, they have not had a true point guard on this roster. And you could say it's kind of a sink or swim thing. They gave Bub Carrington the reins in an attempt to do so last year. I think Bub has a different role on this team. I really like what Bub Carrington is as an NBA player, but I don't think his role long-term is as a point guard. So if you have somebody that really understands how to create, how to break down a defense, you're going to make everything else open up for other players around you. One thing that Trae Young does insanely well is get touches into the paint, make plays for others. Some of the vision that he displayed, I know it was just a 5-game sample size for this Wizards team, making some passes over his head across the entire court as the entire defense is collapsing down and finding an open Trey Johnson. It's going to be the same style of thing here for AJ DeBonsa. Maybe if you have a drive and kick situation where Trae Young is able to beat his man off the bounce, the defense collapse down, he can find DeBonsa open on the corner. And as the defense collapses and breaks down and collapses in on DeBonsa, that'll be an opportunity for him to get his at the rim, to go to the basket. Because the most important thing, I think, for DeBonsa to become the scorer that he is improving that catch and shoot three-point shot. If he's able to become an efficient knockdown shooter on the outside, to make defenses respect that level of his game where they have to get out there on the perimeter because they know he's a threat to shoot from the outside, that's going to open up the driving lanes. It's going to force people to come his way in double teams as well. And DeBonsa, he's a willing passer. He can make plays for others. He has very good vision, got better at it as the season went on at BYU. I think a lot of this offense can make sense. I know there's a lot of hubbub that's made about what the usage looks like for both these players. I don't think Trae Young is going to be a 30% usage guy next year for this team. That's not the way it should be. AJ DeBonsa, 33.5% usage in his freshman season at BYU. That's absolutely not going to be the case here in his rookie season. He's a basketball player. He's going to learn how to expand his game in a way that makes sense in his role. And eventually when the time comes, when he's the number one guy and he knows that he has the ability and the confidence to go get a bucket when they need it, when the shot clock's winding down or at the end of the game, that time will come and they'll know when it's ready or when that time is.
Yeah, and this is where you got to trust Brian Keefe to be able to understand what he's trying to do. We talked about his ability to develop talent. Part of that is when you get put in a position like this, you need to be able to understand how to divvy up the minutes, how to work with the rotations, how to make sure guys are playing with their appropriate guys so they're getting put in the specific situations you want to see them in. And I think for AJ DeBonsa and Trae Young, I think they'll be able to make it work, whether it's trying to, play one of them with the second unit to give them the ability to work on the ball in that sense. And when they're playing together, maybe Trae takes the precedence early just in terms of he's the more experienced guy and you're taking a little off the plate of AJ and you can develop some of his off-ball skills. And one of the exercises I love to do, Strobes, when I'm going through some of these things is just kind of close my eyes and envision a way that it can work and what a possession would look like and how I could make it work. Trae Young can come down with the ball. I can run down a little pin down, get the ball into AJ's hands, and now he's in an opportune spot to maybe set up a pick and roll, or he can get downhill to the bucket. If he improves that, spot up 3-point percentage, catch and shoot, maybe he can do those sorts of things. So I just think there are so many ways that you can get both those guys involved on the ball, where Trae Young can still play point guard. AJ, it almost works in his favor to develop off the ball because of the fact that Trae Young is such a natural point guard. He's going to set guys up. I mean, Trae Young, regardless of what you think about him, he is a point guard, and he's a really good passer. And what you saw last season at Capital One Arena, just a couple of times he threw on a Wizards uniform, it was an electricity from that point guard position that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Just the way that he plays the game, the way that he gets his teammates involved. And so for AJ, if those two guys are on the floor, and I don't disagree with John Wall. Obviously, I respect his basketball opinion a lot. He's much smarter than I am when it comes to the game of basketball. But I think there is a way that they can make it work where it almost works in AJ's favor in a sense. Not to say that they don't need to find ways to still get him involved on the basketball and put the ball in his hands to let him go work, because part of his appeal as well is his ability to play on the ball and be a distributor, be a guy that can do a little bit of everything for your offense as a point forward of sorts. But for Trae Young to be able to be the guy that gets everybody involved, and AJ Dybantsa gets to learn how to play off the ball with a guy that's going to hit him in the right spots and get him involved, whether it's a backdoor cut and you can throw a lob to him, whether it's, a slash and you can find him, whatever it may be, they're going to find ways to get him involved. So it almost helps him a little bit more to develop as that kind of a player off the ball, having a really good point guard in Trae Young on that team for the next couple of years.
It's about finding balance within your offense. And when you look at how Washington runs its offense, they are very heavy on the pick and roll. The one thing that they've loved to do with Alex Sarr, and I think it's made him heaps better in his game offensively, is by operating out of the pick and roll and having Sarr learn his role a little bit. When you're in the short roll, it's interesting as a big man like Sarr, because you have to find your spots and understand where the opening is going to be in the painted area, when to seal your guy, when to get in a position, post up on the low block. But the thing with AJ is he is very good at playing out of the pick and roll. We saw him do it at BYU. So if you have an offense that's centered around that, not every single possession for Trae Young has to be one where he has the ball in his hands for 20 seconds of the shot clock, then he makes a play for somebody else. You can have some of this dribble handoff action up top. And then if you have Dybantsa get the ball in his hands and you either have Davis or Sarr coming to set him a screen, or whoever the big is on the floor at that time, that's where Dybantsa can make a lot of his money as well. Because if you have the defense collapsing in, or you have a hedge come his way, that's going to open things up for everybody else as well, leaving guys open on the outside for their shot. Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, or even Trae Young, who can knock down a shot from the outside. This offense can make a lot more sense, I think, than people have made it out to be, because both these guys have the ball in their hands a lot. They're basketball players. At the end of the day, they can play in a role that makes sense for him. And when the time comes for Dybantsa to be a dominant A1 scorer, have the ball in his hands every single possession damn near, then maybe that you do see that at some point 4 to 5 years from now. But this is a process. This kid is 19 years old, and you're drafting him because you see him here for the next 15 years and morphing into one of the best players in the game. It's a drawn-out thing. It's all about development. And Winger said as much in his interview with J.P. Finley that that's still the number one priority, is making everything make sense for their number one overall pick. And when they signed Trae Young to the extension, they already knew who they were going to take first overall. They said they would make this decision a couple days before the draft. And ultimately, yesterday is when the Trae Young contract was done. That means that Michael Winger and Will Dawkins firmly believe that Trae Young is the right guy to have in the building to help Dybantsa develop his game to become the face of the franchise when that time is ready.
So, Strobes, we're talking about next season and the way that they can develop both those guys on the ball. What do you think expectations should be for next season? Because you don't want fans to get ahead of themselves, right, and you're thinking this team is suddenly going to win 55 games, which this team hasn't done, right?
No.
So you don't want to get ahead of yourselves and suddenly think that, and then you're let down when the team wins 35 games. But realistically, what do you think this team can be? What are they playing for next season when you add in AJ Dybantsa to this young group? And I think it's going to be a fun team to watch, but how good are they going to be?
I think you're banking on health in terms of what your actual ceiling looks like as a team. I think it's a pretty drastic ceiling versus floor range, because let's say you have injuries to a guy like Trae Young, which would be devastating considering the contract that he just got and what we think he means for Washington's offense and helping the young players grow. And if you have injury to Anthony Davis, which I'm not going to say is expected, but you can't really fully expect him to be healthy the entire year. You're hoping that you get a pretty moderate, substantial amount of health for Anthony Davis. If both those guys are hurt, they're still a very, very young team, and you're going to see growing pains for them throughout the season. I think even with Young and Davis playing, you might see some of those growing pains, because young players take time to really understand and learn how to win. But you bring those guys in here because you want to be more competitive. You want to be in close game situations late in the fourth quarter, finding out what your rotation looks like in the final 3 minutes of a game. Do you need a lineup out there that makes the most sense defensively? Are you going to have a guy that comes off the bench just because you need one stop? Could that be Jameer Watkins? I think you're getting the answer to a lot of those questions. So in terms of what the win total would look like, I think if they have relatively good health from Anthony Davis and Trae Young, I think some of the Young injury stuff's a bit blown out of proportion. He's been mostly healthy throughout his career outside of really last year, where some of it maybe was manufactured a little bit. They were trying to hold him out for a period of time. I know he had the MCL sprain and the quad stuff, and he finally made his debut early in March. Then he bumped knees with Will Richard, and they're like, all right, we're going to shut things down for now after 5 games, but you'll be ready to go next year here in a Wizards uniform once again. I think with the health being part of the equation to let's just say Anthony Davis actually plays 35 games before the deadline, maybe he's traded, but let's say he's here for the full season and he plays 50 games. I'd say that's actually a good number for him to play. I think they can be around 500 in the play-in next year. I think the play-in should be what you're striving for. And I think if you miss that mark, and it's not because of injury or whatever else, that would be slightly disappointing, but it's still about developing and getting better every single night. It's not necessarily about making the playoffs next year and winning. That'd be a great step for them, but I wouldn't say they're going to be a powerhouse and win 45 games, be top 4 in the East next year. That'd be pretty drastic jump. They won 17 games last year, so even if they won 41, that's a 24-win increase season to season. That doesn't happen a lot.
No, and one of the things that I think will be a measuring stick for this team next season is how do they play after the All-Star break as opposed to before the All-Star break? What do they look like down the stretch versus what do they start the season? Because we mentioned some of these growing pains. Obviously, you hope AJ gets better as the season goes on and they learn that dynamic between Trae Young and AJ DeBonsa. You want to see some more growth from the second-year guys, and you want to see some more growth from the third-year guys, and seeing those guys continue to get better and better and meld together. And what we talked about earlier, I think there is something to be said for learning how to win at the NBA level. So maybe there are going to be a handful of games in the first half of the season where you're up 5 with a minute to go and you're not able to finish it out or something of that nature because a more experienced basketball team is able to take advantage of the youth of the Wizards. And that's still fine. That's something that you need to be able to go through, I think, at the NBA level to truly understand how to get it done, to finish, to win these games that you need to. And then when they get to that point and they've gone through a couple of the down parts, the tough parts of the season, and they finally get to that point where they start to understand it a little bit, especially guys like AJ that are going through it for the first time, then that's when you start to see that real growth going down the stretch. And that's where you want to lean on the veterans, obviously, to help them in the first half. But hopefully, you get towards February and you get into March, you get into April as the season's winding down, and AJ's looking like a budding superstar. And, Keyshawn's taken another step forward in what he's been able to do. And you're seeing what this team can be in the future. And, I mean, we mentioned it at the top of the show, Strobes. One of the things that really excites me is the growth we saw year 1 to year 2 for Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George especially was incredible. Think about the growth that you're going to see because the player you saw in Will Riley first half to second half of the season, I mean, think about the growth that he can make if he takes just like 75% of the jump that Keyshawn took year 1 to year 2 or that Alex Sarr took. And that's not including what Trey Johnson, the number 6 overall pick last year.
Right.
And so if those guys continue to take steps forward, you're helping out AJ DeBonsa, where it's not just Trae Young stepping up and being the guy that's taking some of the load off AJ. It's those other young guys as well. And I think that's what makes this Wizards team so fun and why next season at Capital One Arena is going to be so fun because, these last couple of years, I think this team's actually been really fun to watch, even though they weren't playing winning basketball.
Right.
But I actually think they were a blast to watch on TV and, go to the arena and see some of the stuff that they could do. But I think this next season where you start to see what can be, where you have AJ DeBonsa and see that superstar, like you mentioned, the sun and the solar system, where you had so many pieces that were fitting in around, and then you just needed to drop in that final puzzle piece that consequently is the most important one.
Right.
That's what gets so exciting about this Wizards team is now you get to see where they're headed because they have their superstar. At least you knew the direction they were going. Now you're directly on the road because DeBonsa is the leading force for it.
This was the last thing they really needed to take the step forward that they want to because they've said it from day one. And I'm talking about Michael Winger and Will Dawkins when they took over this front office. They want to be a perennial contender. When they get to the playoffs, they don't want it to be the one and only time that they're there. By the time they get there, they hope to be there year in, year out with realistic expectations of competing and being a championship level team. So with that in mind, they've built things, a new foundation from the ground up, and they've found the pieces they feel like can be necessary. Your building blocks in Sarr and George and a lot of the other guys that you mentioned. But you need somebody that makes everything make sense. You need your 1A superstar player. And when you have an opportunity in a loaded class to pick first overall, and you pick a guy that's been number 1 pretty much his whole life, has all of the makings of a star, not just based on the intangible stuff and his attitude, but just pure upside in a player. And one way that Dean Oliver described it to me with Dybantsa, when it comes to like an analytical perspective, when you're trying to discover upside, you look at how young a player is and what he's able to do against players that are older than him. And college basketball is insane now. It's a landscape where dudes are 22, 23 years old, and even for the case of Yaxel Leningborg and a lot of that Michigan team, where guys are a lot older, 5 years older. They are grown-ass men going up against kids who are fresh out of high school like AJ, and he was able to dominate competition that was much older than him, despite being a 19 and an 18-year-old kid at the start of the season. That says a lot about who he's going to be as a player when he's 23 or 24 years old, and that's a lot of excitement that the Washington Wizards faithful now get to bank on being part of their reality of the future.
It's cool seeing on social media some of the stars from DC welcoming in AJ Dybantsa to DC. Trae Young has already sent out a message on Twitter saying he's going to love it here and saying stuff to AJ and excited to have him on the team going forward. He also, AJ said that Jaden Daniels sent him a text saying welcome to DC. So it's a fun time to have some of these young superstars in DC for our sports teams. All right, let's keep talking about this momentous night for the Wizards. Let's talk about how big this is and what this could mean for the Wizards going forward and how much of a changing night this is for the franchise. You're listening to the NBA Draft Show. Tobes and Strobes with you on the Team 980.
With the first pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Anise Debonsa Jr. from Brigham Young University.
What a moment, Strobes. Tobes and Strobes with you here on the Wizards Draft Show on the Team 980. What a moment for the Washington Wizards. What a moment for DC as it's a momentous night. Number 1 overall pick. We saw how much the Wizards changed the last time they had a number 1 overall pick with John Wall. They got another number 1 overall pick, and they took A.J. Debonsa. And that's what I want to talk about here, Strobes, is when you look at this night for the Wizards, June 23rd, 2026, when we look back on this night in a decade, 2 decades, how much of a difference do you think this makes for the Wizards? Is this something that, the night that John Wall was drafted, we all remember the debut and, Teach Me How to Dougie and all those stuff. They played it when he walked out on stage, and it just gives you the flashbacks to that night. We all remember those things and how much it meant to us back then. How much is this going to mean to us, this night where A.J. Debonsa becomes a Washington Wizard?
Well, we're hoping this changes everything that we felt about this basketball team for a long time because, Toby, you and I, we're not your average fan. We are the true fanatics when it comes down to this. And it hurts on a personal level in a way. And this team hurt me for a lot of years. The way it operated, the way it ran, and all of the years where there was never really any hope. It was frustrating. And the end of the season didn't really offer much because you were ending kind of in the middle. You missed the playoffs by a little bit, and you go, so what are we going to do? Are we just going to run it back next year with the same thing? I don't understand what we're doing. This is like now the opportunity to have everything that should have happened years ago finally transpire and change everything. And I know it sounds cliche. This is the moment that changes everything for the Wizards. It truly is, because you think about the impact of a number 1 overall pick in the league. And a perfect example, honestly, is what the Pistons have done over the last couple of years with Cade Cunningham. In 2021, they took him, and even his development process is an interesting one to follow because at one point, a year or two into his career, they lost 28 games in a row. That must have been a bleak time. That Pistons team was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this past season. If you would have told me that 4 years ago, I would say you're crazy. But that's what having a number 1 overall pick that truly develops into a star talent, a star scorer, can do for your team. And now that you have an opportunity to actually do that, you have that guy on the roster, and you've been building up some of these pieces to be part of your foundation, part of your building blocks. This is a really good feeling. And I think when we look back on this 10 years from now, we're going to remember this as a day that ushered in a completely new era of Wizards basketball. I know we said that when the front office changed guard 2023, but this is where it really feels like this begins.
Yeah, 100%. It's the Wizards Draft Show. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober, live on the Team 980, 106.7, The Fan joining in. Tough night for the Nationals as you're listening on The Fan, joining over after they fell to the Phillies 14-9. Rare Nats home game that I wasn't able to be at, but no place I'd rather be tonight, Strobes, than enjoying it with the people here at the Anthem and the Wizards draft party as A.J. Debonsa goes number 1 overall. And one of the things that you mentioned there about what it's like being a fan of this team and some of the frustrations and turmoil that we've gone through as Wizards fans. Strobes, when's the last time? I mean, it's been a while. I think maybe the guy that joined the Junkies a little bit earlier tonight over here at the table just to our right, John Wall, and maybe a little bit of Bradley Beal. When's the last time you went to Capital One Arena to watch a guy on the Wizards play basketball?
As a member of the media, I guess would be a whole different story. As a fan is the question that you're...
Well, even you might go watch the Wizards, but like the amount of times that you go like, I'm going to go see Giannis tonight. I'm going to go see LeBron tonight. I'm going to go see Luka tonight. Like the amount of times that fans come in. And I mean, when I first came back out here, I lived in Milwaukee for some time, so I have some fondness for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I was a part of their championship run in terms of covering it and got to experience that. So I'm hoping that I can experience that now and compare the two. I'd love to be able to do that. But I went to the first game back when the Bucks came to town, and it was a rude awakening because Milwaukee had gone through a similar sort of thing from my time there, from going to college, then working the media. It went from being a place where you went to go see, all right, LeBron's in town, let's go to the Bucks game tonight. And then it became, let's go to the Bucks game tonight. I don't care who's playing, we get to see Giannis. Well, that's kind of what happened where, you went to that Wizards game with the Bucks and everybody's there to see Giannis. Nobody cared about who was wearing a Wizards uniform that night. They were there to see the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think this changes everything for the Wizards. Because when I show up to Capital One Arena next year, I don't care who you're playing. Really don't. We watched, Strobes, one of my favorite moments from this past season, I went to a just awful basketball game this past year at Capital One Arena, frankly, where it was the Wizards and the Pacers. The second half was just so forgettable and some of the worst basketball I've ever watched, and not even necessarily from the Wizards end of things. The Pacers were playing such horrendous basketball. Strobes, I'll show up to the arena this year, and I don't care if they're playing that horrendous fourth quarter Pacers team that I was watching, because I'm there to see AJ DeBonsa. It's different now. You're going to show up to the arena to see AJ DeBonsa play. That's the kind of driving force. And that's the kind of player, that's the kind of personality he has, where it wouldn't shock me at all, Strobes, if he comes out next season, and especially if he goes on the media tours and he becomes the social media superstar after being the number 1 overall pick. Would it surprise you at all if at the end of next season we're looking at the top charts for NBA jerseys that were sold and AJ DeBonsa somewhere in there among the names of like an Anthony Edwards? And, maybe he's not going to pass LeBron. Maybe he's not going to pass a Steph Curry anytime soon. But wouldn't shock me at all if he's in the top 10, top 15 selling jersey. That's the kind of guy you're getting. A great basketball player and someone that I think is going to really change the perception around the Washington Wizards, not just here, but nationally as well. And I think that's so important.
It is very important. Look, this dude is clout. He has cachet. He has everything that is the makeup of a player that has all the things that you just brought up. Somebody that can be in the top 15 jersey sale conversation. And, I could give you a couple anecdotes from the past season at Capital One Arena, the final year where this Wizards team is bottoming out, part of this rebuild process. You go to the select games where they have OKC in town. Everybody's lined up to see Shea, Chet, and everybody else. Wemby, when he came to town, everybody gets there an hour early to watch him warm up. Same thing can be said about Giannis, the other stars, Luka and LeBron. You didn't see that for the Wizards until Trae Young made his debut against the Utah Jazz. So a Utah Jazz Wizards game, which would have been so inconsequential in the month of March.
Be fun to watch now, by the way.
Fun to watch now after you have AJ and Darren who've had historic battles going at it back and forth in high school, and then that one game they played at BYU.
I need
this year.
AJ to end that. Darren Peterson wins every time they play. I need AJ to end that now.
Right. But when Trae Young got to the building, there were people actually lined up watching the warm-ups to see him, get ready to have him play, people lining up where the players come out of the tunnel to get autographs. But that's the kind of player that you get in DeBonsa. And I think it matters from a fan perspective because even when you're a player, especially, you don't want to play in an arena where the opposing team's fans have taken things over and you feel like you're playing away.
Or a dead arena.
Or a dead arena. But for a lot of the games for the Wizards the last couple of years, it was opposing fans that were taking over the arena. You got to get an energy back into that building that the team can rally behind, the way the Spurs were able to do it this year, the home court advantage that the Knicks were able to showcase in the NBA Finals as well. That type of stuff matters, and DeBonsa is the perfect player that's willing to absorb the pressure that comes with that stuff. And we're getting now the transcript of the media availability out in New York. And the number one thing he said it was insanely important to him was being the number one pick, being number one throughout his high school career. I definitely wanted to be a staple to be a number one in the NBA draft, to be in the same conversation with guys like LeBron James and Cooper Flagg, Allen Iverson, and guys like that. So he's already holding himself in an insanely high regard, comparing himself to some of these other number one overall picks. But this is what he wanted. He lives and breathes for this moment and what ultimately will be asked of him to do here in D.C. at some point.
So with AJ joining this team, I want to play some audio from John Wall and open a discussion about some of the wings on this team, because we talked about some of the depth on this team. And you look at where they've got so many of their talented players, especially their young talented players. There's so much of them is on the wing. And you look at their depth at some of the positions in terms of the size. Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr behind them. You don't necessarily have big men. Behind Trae Young, maybe you're still lacking a true second point guard. But I think if you look at the Wizards, they have so much depth at that wing position, Strobes. AJ DeBonsa obviously falls in there. Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Will Riley. By the way, all with different skill sets. So I think they all can work together. But all three of those dudes. And then, Jameer Watkins to an extent fits into that mold. Justin Champagnie can do something like that. So, I think that's something interesting, and we'll get into that discussion here in just a couple of minutes. We'll take a break here, and then JP Finley from B. Mitch and Finley, he's going to join us. Want to get his thoughts. He was out in New York for the NBA draft. He was at some of the media availabilities and saw A.J. Dybantsa up close on his special day. So we'll have JP Finley join us next. You're listening to the Wizards Draft Show on the Team 980 and 106.7 The Fan. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober with you until 11. It's Wizards Draft Show. Toby Altizer, Ben Strober wrapping up here at the Anthem at the Wharf. It's time to get out to our guest hotline, bring in our guest from Beamich and Finley, the one and only JP Finley, who was up in New York to cover the NBA draft. JP, what was it like up there? What was the environment? And then what was it like? I can tell you here, whenever AJ got showed on the board, it was clear Wizards fans wanted him. There was loud cheers every time AJ was showed on the board. What was it like being there, seeing AJ taking number 1 overall for the Wiz?
It was very cool, man. And, you know, I talked to a bunch of Wiz fans up here, and it was all the same here. Everybody I talked to said, AJ all day, AJ. And I think, you know, getting to talk to him, getting to see him process the moment and take it all in, and the massive amounts of, like, media requests he had to deal with. He's a cool customer, dude. And one thing that really stuck with me, I was standing in this hallway where he was walking from some various media responsibility to the podium for, like, his big press conference. And he had something in his hand, and he's walking with, like, I mean, he's mobbed. There's like 25 people around him. And he saw a trash can and, like, stopped and went back to throw away whatever he wanted. Like, it was like a bottle of water or something. And he easily could have just handed that to someone for them to deal with. But, like, I don't know, there was a real moment, there was, like, a real sense of, like, this dude was in the moment and taking it all in, but also just a regular down-to-earth guy. It was very impressive. Obviously, we know who he is, the basketball player, right? Like, elite athlete, great scorer. But just to see the person behind all that, I found really encouraging. Like, not that you're not already encouraged, but I was impressed by him.
JP, you got to sit down with the president of Monumental Basketball, Michael Winger, about a week or two ago. And after that conversation, you told me he didn't tell you who the pick would be, but he gave you kind of an idea of who that could be. And you told me you thought it would be A.J. Dybantsa. What about that conversation stuck out, and what doesn't surprise you about what happened tonight?
I think with the level of prospects that were in this draft, it's also about who can be a face of the franchise, who can carry that responsibility and shoulder that. And I think that's something that mattered to Winger, and I think that's something that Dybantsa is absolutely that kind of guy. And I think it's smart, too, that, like, he doesn't have to be that right away, because you're going to have Trey, you're going to have AD, you're going to have these established stars. You can kind of let him, like, grow into that role, and that did stand out to me. And it was interesting, him talking about, like, guys have already reached out to him and how excited he is to play with him. He told me Jaden's already texted him. He said Jaden texted him after the lottery and said, "Welcome to DC."
I love it. I love it. It's a good time to have young DC superstars. It's a good time to be a fan of the DC teams. JP, I want to ask you about that, though. You're older than both me and Strober, and we were talking about this at the beginning of the show and what this means to DC in terms of Wizards fans. And it's always talked about how much of a hotbed the DMV is for hoops, but it doesn't always show up for the Wizards because, frankly, they haven't given DC fans a ton to cheer for over the years. There have been, moments in time for 3 or 4 years at a time, or maybe a 5-year stretch, but nothing sustained. What do you think this can mean if they can get this right and they can develop AJ, they can have this young core, they can create a winner here in DC? What do you think this can mean for basketball in the DMV at the professional level? Because we know what it means so much at the high school and college level.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen pops, right? We saw the Gill years pop, the Wall years pop. And I'm old enough, I remember Rod Strickland and Chris Webber running around for the Bullets. But it's never been a consistent 10, 12-year run of greatness led by a single great player that there's no conversation about, like, are they a playoff team? Like, they're a playoff team. The conversation is, are they a contender? And I think organizationally, they believe Dybantsa's that guy. They believe he's the guy to deliver this. And they've got a couple veterans that can help them short term. But I think longer term, that's not necessarily the vision. This is his team, his organization, and then you add and build around him. And honestly, I think some of the young players they have could grow into that as well. I think for the city, you start talking about the renovations they'll be done at Capital One Arena. You've got what eventually will look like a brand new super dope arena. I think those tickets become hot again, and I think it's an exciting time. I really do. I talked to this kid that's a BYU reporter that's covered every Devonta game for the Cougars, and it was really funny. He told me he was in a arena and there were a ton of NBA scouts there. And this was early in the BYU season. And, you know, he's a college basketball reporter, so he's used to NBA scouts being around. But the game Devonta had, and this was against a Big 12 opponent, he said the game he had, these scouts were going so crazy that he almost thought it was like a joke or something. And he talked to one of the guys who knows, and they were just like, we've never seen a kid play like this. Like, this is unbelievable. And that from the back, like, I think from all sides, this points to the, you know, the universe might have finally done the Wiz right.
We're here with JP Finley from the B. Mitch and Finley Show. He is on site at the NBA draft in New York. We've seen how outspoken A.J. Dybantsa has been throughout this pre-draft process, but really throughout the course of his whole life, he's been perceived as the number one pick since he was pretty much 14 years old. And he said firsthand in the first answer, I got the transcript of his press conference or his media availability, whatever he did after the draft here, is that how badly he wanted to be the first overall pick. And he compared himself to the likes of players of LeBron James, of Cooper Flagg, of Allen Iverson. What do you think that says about him and the pedigree that he holds as a player?
I mean, you got to be aspirational, right? And I think the comp for me that stood out was David Aldridge writing about Chris Webber. And obviously basketball's evolved more from, C. Webb's early days, but the comps here are insane. And I think his desire, I got to talk to his dad for a while. It was really funny and really entertaining. And you could tell just how grounded they all are. And I mean, it's an exciting night for this organization. And, we've seen first-round picks come and bomb, and Kwame Brown. We've seen number one overall picks, and we saw John have a really good kind of start to his career, and then it kind of ended in a different manner. But you just hope you get the real deal. Like, you hope, it's a weird one to say because you obviously just got to trade him, but you hope you get Giannis. You hope you get a player that, kids grow up watching, and he's like a part of the fabric of the city. And the Devonta seems built for that, is what I can say after spending a little bit of time with him.
Last thing, JP, before we let you go, it was cool. John Wall was here with us at the draft party here at the Anthem and was talking to just people around and remembering when he was drafted. And I was talking with CK about this, and he was talking about just the memory that he had of John Wall walking the red carpet and those sorts of things. Curious for you being up there at the NBA draft in a night that I think we all think is going to be momentous for the Wizards and, something that we're going to remember for a long time with A.J. Dybantsa being the number one overall pick. What's something that you're going to take away from tonight that you're going to remember for a long, long time?
Shrobes, you probably read it. He told a story. I asked him about, the picture he posted with his dad in front of the White House. I'm like, was that a clue? He's like, no, man, I found out at 8:09 p.m. just like everybody else. And I think that trepidation, you know what I mean? Like you're waiting to find out the next phase of your life. And I love how much it mattered to him to be number one, because I think what you absolutely have to make it to the highest levels of any sport is this just killer mentality. And I think while AJ is polished and funny and, you know what I mean, like doesn't come across with that killer that some basketball players present immediately, he's got it, dude. You can tell he's got it. His dad told me a story when they were on the AAU circuit that his dad's rules were like, listen, I'll support you whatever you need, but you got to get good grades. And AJ came home with a C-. And his dad's like, you think this is good enough? And he's like, the test was hard. And their AAU tournament was in Philadelphia. And the dad called the AAU coach, said, listen, I'm going to bring AJ, but he can't play. And the coach like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're going to drive 6 hours just to prove a point? And he's like, yeah. And he said, the father said, after that trip to Philly, where he didn't get to play, that he was on the honor roll every semester after.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
JP, we appreciate you making We appreciate you making some time for us, JP. Keep on killing it, the coverage out there at the draft.
Okay, boys. Take care.
That's JP Finley. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, 10 to 2. B. Mitch and Finley reacting to AJ Dybantsa being the number 1 overall pick. Just a couple of minutes left here at the Wizards Draft Show as we're winding down at the Anthem and what has been a very, very fun night, Strobes. Just getting to see so many Wizards fans, and sometimes it's a reminder. It's not like you see tons of Wizards gear out and about, but I think you've started to see more as they've won the draft lottery and people are starting to get some of that Wizards fever. But seeing so many fellow Wizards fans here tonight celebrating what we all think is going to be a night that we remember for a long, long time, a franchise-altering, franchise-changing type of night. What was your favorite part of the night?
I think seeing the announcement of the pick was a surreal feeling and a pure moment of elation. I'd say where I'm in a crowd of people that are all behind the same idea of wanting to see the Wizards be a great basketball team, really for the first time in a long time, and maybe for the first time in a lot of people's lives. Just watching everybody celebrate and hug and cheer when they find out that AJ Dybantsa is the pick. I know the lottery was a similar thing, but seeing the camaraderie here tonight at the Anthem, everybody watching the pick and going crazy and celebrating after, I think that was a special moment because in a city where basketball reigns supreme in terms of the athletes that come out of this area and what a kid would do to spend his free time, we haven't had good professional hoops in this town in such a long time. And it's been such a damn shame. And we hope today is the night where we look back and say, remember when DC was a joke of a basketball town? Remember it all changed on June 23rd, 2026? That's what tonight hopefully feels like for the future.
Yeah, it was so much fun seeing fans knew who they wanted. It was very obvious just sitting here and watching the different things that were going on, and they were doing some dance auditions. They were showing some different highlights as John Wall and Glenn Consort, Dave Johnson were talking up on stage and talking about the different guys at the top of this draft. And it started with Cameron Boozer, a highlight package. Everyone was quiet. It started and then went on to Caleb Wilson. Everybody was quiet. And then it was a highlight package of Darren Peterson. And there was a little bit of a cheer, but nothing too big. And then AJ Dybantsa was shown on the screen, and everybody lost their minds. So everybody was telling you all throughout the evening when he got showed on the screen at the NBA draft for the first time, everybody went nuts. Everybody told you who they wanted, and they came through. They took AJ Dybantsa with the number 1 overall pick, and I think the excitement here in D.C. is something that's not going to end tonight. It's something that's going to go for a long, long time. And I think Capital One Arena is going to be a place to be next season, which for Wizard basketball has not been something we've said in quite some time.
I'm all smiles right now. It's a great day to be from this area, in the city, celebrating with everybody. I think prosperous times are ahead for this Wizards organization. I can't wait to see what the start of the career looks like for AJ Dybantsa, centered around Trae Young as well. Going to be fun. Toby, it's been a blast doing this with you tonight, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. The arrow is trending up for the Washington Wizards, and it's going to be fun to cover it all along. All right, for our crew out here at the Anthem, I appreciate Metal Chris doing all the hard work out here. For Ben Strober, Anthony Haney back in the studio, I'm Toby Altizer. Thanks for listening to the Wizards NBA Draft Show. AJ Dybantsa is a Washington